Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a very special video. This is an Avengers Endgame speculation video, but not just any Avengers Endgame speculation. See, this morning, as all of you know by now, a brand new trailer for Avengers Endgame hit the web. Now, whenever new pieces hit the web and become available to us, it can do certain things. It can destroy certain theories we may have had. It can make us reinforce ideas of certain theories that we had. And it can introduce new theories that we have based on the new material that we have in front of us. So some examples of this. One, an idea of a theory that may have been destroyed by this new trailer is some people held the theory that, and I don't know why, but some people had a theory that Tony Stark and Nebula never get out of that ship and they never get rescued. That their part of the movie happens just in that ship and they die there. And there'd be something very dramatic about that. And again, I don't know why anybody would believe that they would never get rescued, but that was a theory that seemed to get kind of obliterated by this particular thing. One of the theories that got really reinforced by this trailer was, what if what if Hawkeye looked so angry in the previous spot because one of his family, or maybe all of his family, died? This trailer comes around, totally reinforces that theory, seeing Hawkeye with his daughter shooting bow and arrow and all that kind of stuff. We don't see her dust in this trailer, but we can pretty much put two and two together. And then maybe some brand new theories erupt, like there are different scenes where it looks like Black Widow has different color hair. Does that mean there's a time jump at some place within this movie? Is it different timelines? So it starts, when we get new material, it can form new theories. So I thought we would take some time today to talk to you guys about and get your thoughts on, now that we've seen this trailer, where are your theories at right now for Endgame? Where are your theories at? Let me tell you a couple of mine here. One is, I've been kind of subscribing to this theory a little bit. Now, I still believe that Thanos is going to be the main bad guy. I still think the odds are that Thanos is the main bad guy in Avengers Endgame. However, I have very mildly been ascribing to this theory that Thanos doesn't play much of a role in this movie at all. I still think it was most likely that he does, but I've kind of been buying in a little bit to this idea that Thanos doesn't have a big role, that Thanos' story ended with Infinity War. That in the ending of Infinity War came along, Thanos wins, and then he goes off to retire. And that's the end of his story. And what he did looms large over all the events because, we do see kind of a dark shadow figure of him in the background that kind of suggests that maybe just the presence of Thanos is felt. But I believe from this trailer, seeing no more Thanos, no mention of Thanos, I can't help but wonder if maybe my belief in that little theory has kind of been reinforced. But anyway, what I really want this afternoon to be about, I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to get online and just spit out some theories. What are some theories that maybe this new trailer destroyed of yours? What are some theories that this trailer enforced? And what are some new ideas or new theories or possibilities that you have now as a result of what we saw in this trailer? So let's not waste any time. Let's spend a little time talking about Avengers Endgame theories here in light of the brand new trailer that dropped. So let's get things started here. And we're going to get things started with James Argenta, who writes, I think two of the moments the Avengers go back to are the Battle of New York and Nowhere from Guardians of the Galaxy 1, since there are two stones at each location. Okay, so that's interesting, James, because you're layering theories there. You're layering them. You got two theories there. One is the theory that time travel is involved in this movie, which is a very popular one. Like, a lot of people really believe there's time travel involved. I'm still not 100% sold on that, but that is definitely a popular theory. Now, within that theory, you've got another theory that they actually go to different places in time, one being Battle of New York, and I'm sure you're basing that on those set photos that got leaked. And by the way, remember, never get too invested in out-of-context set photos, because they could mean something totally different, right? But clearly you're basing it on that, and the idea of them going to Nowhere, because that's where the Collector, well, had a couple. At least at one point in time, he had a couple there, right? So, interesting theory. We're going to see Nowhere. Let's chalk that one up. We're going to see Nowhere in Avengers Endgame. Interesting theory. All right. The Chum Bucket writes, I rewatched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and in his college lecture scene, Bill Foster discusses using quantum tech to access parallel realities. I feel this is what and then I'll get back up to Sharon in a second. I feel this is what the Avengers will use in Avengers Endgame, going to alternate realities instead of direct time travel. Otherwise, they'd merely send Thor back to aim for the head. There's that. I mean, I've always kind of postulated that, look, if I don't know that the Eye of Agamotto or the Time Stone enables its bearer to literally time travel the way we classically understand time travel. We've seen the eye manipulate time. We've seen the eye let somebody look into the future. We've seen the eye do a few things, but we've never seen the eye going, I mentioned in a companion video today, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to go back to the 1950s for a great 1950s vanilla milkshake. Boop. And then he travels to the 1950s and then comes back. I don't know that the movies have ever shown us that the Time Stone gives its bearer that ability. Because if it did, why didn't Doctor Strange, while sitting around on Titan waiting for Thanos to show up, why didn't he just use a Time Stone and go, you know what, guys? If Ma never caught me in New York, a lot of this, we would have solved this problem by now. So I'm just going to go back in time to before he showed up in New York and make sure he doesn't get the drop on me this time. Like, why didn't he just do that? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what you're proposing here of alternate realities. That's something that a lot of other people have theorized too, that instead of undoing the snap, that they just merge different realities. And that is certainly a possibility because, we're going into Spider-Man Far From Home. Nobody seems to be bearing any of the ill effects of the snap or the decimation. So maybe it's just a new reality that's been born. So that's something a lot of people have been talking about as well, Chum Bucket. All right. Saran Aurora writes, Einstein was born today. Hawking's died today a year ago. Today is also Pi Day. It is 3.1416. And I can't go past that. Quantum realm and time travel confirmed. Hashtag whatever it takes. There you go, man. I didn't realize that Einstein's birthday and Hawking's died on Einstein's birthday. I didn't realize that. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay. Caledon Sound writes, Endgame looks a lot like it's going to be Control-Z, all the bad stuff. But I know Feige and the Russos wouldn't let it be that predictable. I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. I agree. Now, look, we already know from the fact. What do we know for fact? We know that Spider-Man Far From Home is coming just a couple of months after Endgame. So we know Spider-Man comes back. What do we know for fact? Marvel has hired Ryan Coogler to do Black Panther 2. So we know Black Panther's coming back. What do we know for a fact? Marvel has hired Scott Derrickson to come back and direct Doctor Strange 2. That's a fact. Okay, so we know we're getting another Doctor Strange. So we know these characters are coming back. So we know there is some victory that the Avengers are going to have by the end of this film. At what cost, how much sacrifice, how much of a victory is yet to be seen, but there's some kind of victory that can be had at the end. I agree. It's not just going to be, all we had to do was look inside the gauntlet and Peter Dinklage's character built in a reset button to undo anything this gauntlet's done. Click. Everybody's happy. You're right. I don't think they're going to go that simple, but it is going to be intriguing to see how they're going to work this out and in which direction they kind of go with that. All right. Aaron H. writes, did you see they forgot Denai Guerrera's name on top of the poster? They went back and released it with it on there. A lot of outrage for a simple mistake. I don't know why anybody would be outraged. I mean, not every actor in every movie gets their name on the poster. So I don't know what... Were there... I haven't seen... Were people actually upset? Why? Not every movie has every actor in the movie's name on the poster. By the way, we don't know how much Okoye is in this thing. For all we know, she's in 5 minutes of the movie. So that seems kind of like a ridiculous thing, Aaron. Anyway, Logan Tamlin writes, that battle we see with Cap/Rocket/War Machine in, do you think the fallen characters have already came back and that the battle is to defeat Thanos or whoever? Interesting. But the one thing I want to point out, Logan, is we don't know for sure that this battle that we see, whatever War Machine and Rocket are in, and that's a great shot in the trailer, right? Rocket hanging off War Machine's shoulder. We don't know that that's the same battle that Cap's in. And we don't know it's the same battle that Ant-Man's in. Because we see Ant-Man like doing the pole vault with the pencil and all that kind of stuff, right? For all we know, those could be completely different battles at different times in the movie. Likely that's the same battle, but possibly. One of the things that I said before, Logan, was I don't get the feel, either from this particular trailer or what we saw in the last one, that they're all necessarily fighting one guy. It feels more like them fighting against a host of enemies, like the Chitauri or like the Ultron bots or whatever. It feels more to me like they're fighting multiple enemies. Whether that means Thanos and Red Skull and Ultron, or just a bunch of cannon fodder soldiers. Every movie needs a bunch of cannon fodder soldiers for the heroes to show off their stuff. Is a good question. So I'm not sure. I don't know if this is part of the battle to bring everybody back. I don't know if this is part of the battle where they've brought everybody back and now they're in battle again. They're just not showing everybody else. Interesting theory, though. Let's keep an eye out for that. All right, Aaron H. writes, every time I see Thor, I want Led Zeppelin to play. I love that. I still get the craziest rush whenever I watch either of the scenes in Thor Ragnarok when that music starts to play right at the beginning and then right near the end. It's such a big kick. I completely agree, Aaron. I can relate with what you're talking about. All right, Derek Large writes, to me, they are setting up the through line of Hawkeye versus Thanos in Endgame, much like it was Thor versus Thanos in Infinity War. Hawkeye will be the one to make the ultimate sacrifice and take down the Mad Titan. Ooh. You know, it was really funny. In the classic DC storyline of Parallax, where it turns out that Green Lantern was Parallax, they ultimately had his friend, a non-powered, and as Parallax, he was super powerful. I've been sneezing all day and I'm not sick, so I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, so Parallax was incredibly powerful, right? Incredibly powerful. And ultimately it came down to his friend, the Green Arrow, is the one who ultimately kind of took him down. Could they do something like, in the midst of everybody who was trying so hard to take down Thanos, could somehow, some way, Hawkeye be the one to take him down? It seems unlikely, but it's the underdog stories that are great. And clearly they've been setting up Hawkeye's pain. Hawkeye's never met Thanos, but Thanos has wronged him greatly, taking his family from him. And right from the previous spot to now, they've really highlighted Hawkeye's pain and all that. Clint's pain is palatable. And that shot, I'm telling you, I've been saying all day, cry time, cry time. Everybody in America going to cry because they're going to show him with his daughter. And oh, it's so sweet. And his daughter's going to die in his arms, turning into dust. And everybody's going to cry. I'll be honest with you, Derek. I have not considered the possibility that ultimately he'd take him. But by the way, that's another theory based on a theory that Thanos is in this movie at all. I mean, we don't know that for a fact. And maybe he's just a small little role, and maybe it'll come down to him. But maybe it does come down to Thanos, and maybe the one who takes him down is Hawkeye. That would be a twist that not a lot of us see coming. All right, Taki75 writes, Carol looking pretty hot for a 60-year-old lady. God, keep telling you, Kree blood. It's Kree blood, man. Kree blood and the theory of relativity with her space travel. All that ties together for she don't age as a Kree the way we regular humans do. And it's all that Kree blood and all that intergalactic space travel. But yeah, she looks pretty damn good, doesn't she? She's not nearly old enough for Thor. How old they say Thor was? 1,500 years old? Maybe older than that? Anyway, DC Patience writes, Quinjet bringing Rocket, Thor, and Okoye to Avengers HQ. Well, a couple things. I don't think that was New York, was it? Wasn't that Tokyo? I think I heard some theories that maybe it was Tokyo, maybe it wasn't. I don't know for sure. But I'm still not positive. And I need to go back and watch it again, DC. I'm not positive that was a Quinjet. That might have been a Wakandan aircraft. I'm not sure. Let's just be clear. I'm not sure about that at all. I'm just not sure either way. So it'd be interesting to check that out. Apex Caliber writes, What if we heard Thanos' voice in the trailer saying whatever it takes, showing he'll stop at nothing to keep from reversing snap? Again, guys, I hate questions with what if that don't actually have a question in it. So if you're going to ask what if, and you say a situation, you have to attach a question to it. I don't know what your question is, Apex. Okay, what if this happened? And what's the question? Because what if isn't a question. So I'm not quite sure what you're asking. But had that happened in the trailer, it would be pretty ominous. Tacky75 writes, Peggy features in both trailers. Coincidence? I just think Peggy is the I don't think it means anything. I really don't. I just think Peggy is the strongest representation narratively of Cap's past. I mean, she's a living, breathing monument, if you will, of Cap's past. Both before and as an older lady when he would visit her at her retirement home. I mean, so I honestly don't think there's anything more to it than that, but there are theories out there that Peggy Carter could play a part in this movie. Certainly possible, and that's a theory that's going around. DC Patience writes, the Thor-Carol standoff is because he wouldn't trust Kree. Is there anything in any of the movies about... Well, there's two things, though, DC. Have we seen Thor ever say that he doesn't trust Kree? Has he? I don't recall. But even if it was, she's not Kree. I mean, she's human. She's got Kree blood in her, but she's clearly not Kree. And it didn't look like a standoff. He just walked up, and then he says, I like her. So I'm not sure if that was a standoff. Maybe, but I didn't see it that way. Just when I watched it, at any rate. All right. Chanel Hope writes, how likely do you think we will get some nod to the comics ending in Endgame, specifically Nebula's role in the comics and even her transformation? I don't think so. Now, it's funny because we brought that up after Infinity War. And we talked about what happens in the comics with Nebula, and at some point, like, Nebula wields the gauntlet. But we've also seen that Marvel really does not stick to the comics hardly at all when it comes to the details. So how likely? I don't know. It's certainly not impossible. If I had to give it a percentage, I'd say maybe a bigger percentage than I initially thought. Maybe a 25% chance. Maybe a 25% chance. So that's pretty solid. That's a solid chance, like 1 in 4 chance. I don't think that's what they'll do. But she's still around, right? She's still around. The most obscure, the most unlikely character from the Guardians movies, still hanging out there with the Avengers. I mean, other than Rocket. So maybe there's a purpose for that. And maybe that purpose is to call back to some of the stuff that happens in the comics. It's a possibility. I'm going to go 25% chance. All right. Daryl Best Wadley writes, the final Infinity War trailer debuted March 16th of last year and only had 2 trailers. Today, we got our second trailer. I don't think we're getting a third. Oh, I absolutely believe we're getting a third. I believe that we are going to get a third trailer, really a fourth trailer. This is a third trailer. I mean, you can go into the semantics. Oh, the first one wasn't really a trailer. It was just a teaser spot and blah. It's the third trailer that we got today. Anyway, I absolutely believe we're getting another one. And I don't know that I'm not saying I've got insider information. I'm not claiming this is a fact. I'm just saying what I, as a fan, am speculating. But I truly believe we are getting another trailer. And it's going to drop on the day the tickets go on sale. And it's going to be what I have been affectionately referring to as the Boom trailer. And what'll be in that trailer specifically, I have no idea. But I believe it's going to be more of a what trailer. And it will end with the words, tickets on sale now. I just believe that's too big of an opportunity. Because people are going to watch that trailer. Then in this order. This will be the order of events. People will watch the trailer. They will then unbutton their pants and masturbate like a wild hyena. And then they will pick up their phone and they will open their movie ticketing apps and buy all the tickets. So they will watch the trailer, dropping of pants, masturbating like wild hyenas. Not that I know how wild hyenas masturbate. And then they will pick up their phones, get on their apps, and they will buy all the tickets. That is the order of which, because you dropped the Boom trailer with tickets on sale now, it's just a marketing no-brainer. It's just a marketing no-brainer. So yes, I do completely believe we're going to get another one. I do believe we're completely going to get another one. Anyway, and if they don't, they don't. If they don't, again, this is just fan speculation on my part. But I do believe we are getting another trailer. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, we will see scenes from all the movies mixing. That's interesting. See, I've just been assuming, Alan, that all the flashback stuff is just for the trailers. We've seen that in other movies before, right? We've seen that used. Flashbacks for previous films in a franchise, but those flashbacks aren't used in the new movie. They're just used for the marketing. My just operating assumption here has been that these flashback stuff that we're getting in the trailer is just that, for the trailer and not in the movies. But you have a theory that we're going to actually see them mixed into the movies. That's interesting. I haven't heard anybody else say that, so let's keep our eye open with that, Alan. Pool of Dead writes, I will pray to Lord Feige every night until he answers my prayers on April 36th. I think you're going to be waiting a long time for April 36th. 43 days, baby. P.S. I hope Hawkeye puts the gauntlet on and kills Thanos. I mean, you're the second person on here to suggest that maybe it's Hawkeye. Again, it's not something I've even considered, largely because we have no connective tissue currently between Hawkeye and Thanos. I mean, Hawkeye wasn't even in Infinity War, right? But they are certainly catching up with him with the fact that he's probably lost his kid. Maybe even both of his kids. Maybe even both of his kids and his wife. So maybe that's their connection. But you're the second person here today suggesting maybe it's Hawkeye that takes him down. Intriguing. Soggy Mini Muffins writes, still no sign of Shuri at all. Well, Shuri was in the previous trailer. She was listed as one of the people missing, along with other people who have dusted. I think the message there was that Shuri is dusted and that Shuri's gone. At least that's what I believe the message was, because her picture was up amongst the other faces of those who have gone missing as a result of the snap. So, yeah, no sign of her here. Let's see. Topher Rocks writes, calling it, Endgame ends with Tony's wedding. It's a strong possibility. I mean, because there's a theory that Tony dies. Totally possible. But I think it ends on an up note. And something like Tony and Pepper's wedding is certainly, yeah, I could totally see that. I think that's a totally valid possibility. Actually, maybe even a likelihood. I like that one. I buy into that one, Topher. Benny95 writes, the team time travel into Quantum Realm to retrieve stones from the past movies, while Thor and Captain Marvel go to confront Thanos to distract him. That, again, is a popular theory right now. That because, we see as the team marches in the Quantum Realm outfits, which, by the way, we don't know for sure those are Quantum Realm uniforms. They are very reminiscent of the ones we've seen in Ant-Man movies, but we don't know for sure. But that's the operating assumption from the trailer. So, since we do not see Thor and Captain Marvel there, and I don't think we see Rocket either, maybe we do, but I don't recall. Anyway, that Thor, as we saw in the previous trailer spot, it looks like he's going to the world that Thanos went to after finishing the snap. So maybe Captain Marvel goes with him, and they go to confront Thanos for one thing, while the rest of the team goes through the Quantum Realm to either merge different realities or to time travel or to something else. But they're doing something. Let's see how that turns out. All right. Apex Caliber writes, Tony and Thanos seen in Endgame like Joker, Batman, in The Dark Knight? I don't know. I think that suggests too much of a connection between Tony and Thanos. To be real honest, the real arch rival to Thanos is Thor. Thor is truly the arch rival to Thanos. Thor is the one who took Thanos down. Remember, Infinity War was all about Thor and Thanos. It was about the two of them. The movie started with the two of them together. Then the movie follows their two separate paths. And then the movie ends with the two of them back together. Except this time, it's, Thor standing over Thanos with Stormbreaker buried in Thanos' chest. If there's anybody going to have a Batman Joker moment with Thanos, I would guess that would be Thor. Even if Hawkeye's the one to take him down, if there was going to be, my guess here, a Batman Joker moment, I think it would be with Thor. All right. Daryl Best Wadley writes, I'm calling it. Okoye takes over as the king of Wakanda, or at least a protector. It looks like she is the representation of Wakanda in the new poster. Well, I don't buy that for a couple of reasons. Number one, she's not she's not of the right bloodline to do it, according to Wakandan custom. In the poster, she's still wearing traditional Dora Milaje outfits, which are there to protect and serve the king. So I believe there's a lot of little things in there that go. Plus, the obvious choice to be new king is M'Baku, who is already the head of the Jambari tribe. And he came this close to taking the throne. He had a rightful claim to the throne. He came this close to beating Black Panther for it, T'Challa for the throne. He came that close to beating T'Challa. So if anybody was going to take over the throne, my just automatic assumption is M'Baku. So I'm going to stick with that one. I don't think Okoye became the new king / queen / protector. Or I don't think that's what happened. But she still dresses Dora Milaje, so she's still serving Wakanda. And maybe she still thinks it's her job to serve T'Challa, and she's got to get him back. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it'll be interesting to see. If we get in there and we find Queen Okoye, we'll know that you were right, Daryl. All right. Benny95 writes, they said there's a shot with every character from the MCU in it. I don't know who they is. Since half-dusted and won't be seen, this could be either Tony's wedding or at a funeral. Well, I've already said I'm buying into the theory that the movie ends with Tony's wedding. Sure, I'll buy into that one. I don't know who they is, because I haven't personally seen it. It doesn't mean it didn't happen just because I didn't see it. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I'm just saying, I have personally not seen anybody official say, at one point in this movie, we'll see all the Avengers characters together. I haven't heard the Russos say that. I haven't heard Kevin Feige say that. If they did, can somebody please email me a link to john@thejohncampeashow.com? If somebody can email me a link to either the Russos directly saying or Kevin Feige directly saying that there is a shot in the movie with all of them together, I'd love to see it. Because maybe it does exist and I just didn't see it. But so I don't know about that, so I can't comment on that. But I will say, Benny, I am buying into this theory that the movie ends with Tony's wedding. Alpha Uadrago writes, I know you're being careful, but with Janet warning Scott about time vortexes, the quantum suits, the set picks, and Star Trek comparisons made, if not about time travel, this is at least time exploration. You're right, Alpha. I'm being cautious because I don't know how many times we've seen just a commonly held assumption about one of these franchise films, and it turns out we were completely wrong. Like, not even a little bit wrong, like totally wrong, right? Now, remember, I'm not saying there's not going to be time travel. I'm just saying I haven't 100% bought into that yet. I just think there's too many question marks there to 100% say there's going to be time travel in there. Is it certainly a possibility? Yes. Is it even likely? At this point, even I have to say it looks like it's likely. But I'm just not there at 100% yet. And yes, there are certain threads that have been kind of sewn that you can grab and kind of piece together. But I believe there's also combinations of those same threads that can make a completely other sort of circumstance that would explain a completely different kind of outcome. What will it be? I don't know. I'm just saying the only thing, Alpha, I'm ready to concede on to say that this is a certainty is that this movie ends with some sort of victory for the good guys. Because we know Spider-Man Far From Home is coming. We know Black Panther 2 is coming. We know Doctor Strange 2 is coming. Some form of a victory is coming. How complete of a victory? We don't know. How costly of a victory? We don't know. But that's the only thing I know at this point. Like, whether it's time travel, whether Thor kills Thanos, whether Thanos is even a major character, I'm just not ready to really buy into completely and invest in. Just because they've referenced something in other movies doesn't mean it has to play a major part here. Doesn't mean it won't, but it doesn't mean it has to. So, I don't know, man. I mean, you raise very valid points here, Alpha. You raise very valid points. I'm just saying it's just not enough for me to buy into 100% yet. Likely, yeah. 100%, I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet. All right. DC Patience writes, Cap's beard and Widow's long red hair equals alternate timeline. See, I don't know. Like, in one shot, when she's shooting at the firing range, blonde. In other shots, redhead. Now, you can go from blonde to redhead in one day. That's the miracle of hair coloring. You can go from blonde to redhead in one day. But could it be possible that within the movie itself, like, I'm not talking about the difference in time between Infinity War and when Endgame starts, but is it possible that once Endgame starts, there's another time jump? Like, we go through the first act of the movie and then we go 18 months later. And then we've jumped ahead in time 18 months. And Widow's got different hair. Cap's got different facial hair. I mean, and relationships have evolved. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the world is in a different place. Who knows? But I definitely think that's something that we have to keep our eye on. All right. Daryl Best Wiley writes, do you think Rocket has an extra eye for Fury? That's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe after the new reality starts, maybe Fury and Rocket meet, and maybe he's got an eye for him. Or maybe the realities merge and the Guardians never came to Earth. Rocket never met Thor, and they're all just kind of reset to an earlier state. I don't know. Maybe. But I will tell you what, Daryl, if at some point Nick Fury meets Rocket Raccoon, and Rocket Raccoon goes, I got another one of these, and pulls it out, I will find that the most hilarious shit ever. I will find that pretty damn funny. All right. Javier Riaz writes, I can't wait to see how the Avengers react to a talking raccoon. Looks like Rocket and Rhodey will get along well since they like big guns. Well, they do like big guns. But listen, we got to remember, at this point in the MCU's history, the Avengers and the members therein have seen a lot of stuff. They've seen a lot of stuff. They saw the Black Order. They saw Thanos. They saw Army of Chitauri come down out of the sky. They've seen the God of Thunder walk among them. They've seen a lot of crazy stuff. This isn't like, I'm trying to make sure I don't spoil anything, but this is just some like, oh, it's another day here in the world. We've never seen anything unusual. And all of a sudden a talking raccoon comes out, right? To them, I got to imagine it's going to be a little bit of, this doesn't surprise me anymore, right? I just got to imagine there's a little bit of that there because they've seen a lot of crazy stuff at this point. All right. Aaron H. writes, we need a Thor Danvers baby for science purposes. Everybody wants to ship this Thor and Captain Marvel hookup. I just think it was a fun moment. I don't want them wasting any precious screen time on some stupid romance. I don't want to see it. Maybe they'd find a way. Maybe they do it. Maybe they find a way to do it. I certainly am not interested in it, at least from where I'm sitting right now. But who knows? Let's see. Javier Rios writes, also, do you think we'll see Valkyrie and Korg? Yes. Yes, I do. Because remember, Valkyrie and Korg got off the Asgardian ship. Now, it's possible they dusted in the decimation. That's possible. But I have a feeling Valkyrie shows up. I really do. I think they like that character. I think they want to use that character. I think Valkyrie and Korg both show up in some way. Now, I'm not saying it's 100%, but I would give it a 60% chance that they show up. I'm basically expecting that they will. I'll be a little surprised if they don't. That's where I'm at right now. All right. Let's see here. Degado1 writes, I love how secretive they are being. Also, you got my hopes up and look for that Joker trailer everywhere. Yeah, I just know I was doing the show and I got a bunch of messages saying Joker trailer drop, Joker trailer drop. So I still have not gone to watch it. I've been so wrapped up in doing the companion video today because that was a long companion video, trying to force in a quick lunch and all this stuff. I haven't even had a chance to look for it today. Is it not there? Is there not? I honestly don't know. I've been so just wrapped up in work. That I have not seen, I haven't gone and seen. Is there not one? Anyway. Okay. Where are we at right now? Javier Riaz 405. I kind of want to rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp just so I can get more information on the quantum realm and how it works. Do not laugh, Javier. My buddy of mine texted me today saying, well, this afternoon, I'm going to have to sit down and watch Ant-Man and the Wasp again and watch some of those scenes, particularly that one scene with Morpheus talking about like quantum realities and stuff like that. We are probably going to have to go back and do a little bit of homework. And that's not a bad idea, Javier, and you're not alone in that because, like I said, I've had that same thing proposed to me already. All right. DC Patience writes, over under 35% post-credit scene teases Kree-Skrull war. Under. That's all I can say is under. Joe Flicks writes, Old Flicks Joe, writes, do you think Endgame will be the great time travel movie? Also, what is your favorite time travel movie? My favorite time travel movie is Star Trek IV. I don't know. Look, even if time travel is a part of this movie, and we have no guarantee that it is, but even if it is, do I expect it to be the great time travel movie? Nah. I see time travel probably, if it's used in this movie, simply as a plot device. Star Trek IV is my favorite, even more than Back to the Future. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, is my favorite movie involving time travel, even more than Back to the Future. There, I said it, but there you go. ZOMG Ruler writes, I have a theory Captain Marvel might be bland again. Well, I didn't think she was bland at all in the first one, so to each their own, ZOMG. Just Plain Steve writes, one of my biggest wants out of Endgame, since Rocket is on Earth, is that he sees a raccoon and has an aha moment. It would be a good payoff for the raccoon jokes that have gone over his head. I won't. Here's the thing. In principle, I totally see what you're saying. Here's the problem with that, though. If this movie does indeed pick up in real time 1 year after the events of Infinity War, that means Rocket has already been on Earth with the Avengers for a year. I have to believe that at some point in the past year, he's had an opportunity to see a raccoon. So I don't know that they can justify saying he's been here on Earth for an entire year and just now he's seeing a raccoon. But I would say it would be a pretty funny. The other little thing is maybe it's a little bit too predictable of a gag. Maybe it's a little bit too predictable. But I'm with you on this one. I would get a kick out of that. I would get a big kick. Again, the only problem is, how do you say he's been on Earth for a year and nobody mentioned to him, you should look at the picture of this Earth animal that you look a lot like. You know, they would have a hard time explaining that. All right. Ruben Ripalda writes, I see War Machine has a new I like that. War Machine has a new rocket launcher. I like that because he's mounted on his shoulder and everything. Very observant, Ruben. Very quick. Very good. I like that. Ben Burnside writes, the lack of new footage shows that this film is going to be bonkers. Berserker Hulk, anyone? It was noticeable that he wasn't in the trailer again. Well, see, here's my thing about that. We had, first of all, Bruce is in the trailer, right? Bruce Banner is in the trailer. He is Hulk. So, technically speaking, he was there. The second thing, though, is this, and I mentioned this in my companion video earlier today, is that it seems like the purpose of this trailer was the drama of the story. Not the action of the story, not the excitement of the story. It seems to me like the focus of this trailer was the drama of the story. If that's the case, it would not be consistent with the purpose of the trailer to have Hulk in it, right? If your purpose and your main target is to highlight and play to the emotion of the drama of the narrative, the drama of the story, and not the excitement of the story, which I believe is what we're going to get in a new trailer, then how does putting Hulk in it serve that purpose? So I'm not really surprised we didn't get a Hulk in this. It would have, honestly, Hulk would have felt out of place in this particular trailer. Unless Hulk was just sitting there looking sad. Hulk sad. Okay, then that would have done it. But none of us want to see sad Hulk. We want to see Hulk ripping crap up, right? That's what we want to see. And I don't know that it would serve the purpose of it. So, again, he wasn't really absent because he was there in the form of Bruce. But I think that served the purposes of the trailer more than showing Hulk. So we'll have to wait and see. But I agree. I think we're going to get a Berserker Hulk in this movie, and I think they're saving him. I just think they're saving him. All right. Mike Hill writes, do you think Nebula becomes an Avenger? I think she will. Well, it depends. I mean, theoretically speaking, Doctor Strange isn't an Avenger, but, I mean, he's fighting with the Avengers. And it all depends. I mean, if she comes home with Tony and she's walking around with the Avengers emblem, you know, because remember, those suits they're wearing have the Avengers emblem, and she's docking one of them. I should say she's rocking one of those. Then, yeah, I'll say at least she's an auxiliary member of the Avengers. How's that? At the very least, she's an auxiliary member of the Avengers. Let's see. Trashbo writes, saw Ty Simpkins from Iron Man 3 in Endgame cast list. Yeah, I saw that too. But remember, always keep this in mind, Trashboat, that IMDb is not always reliable pre-movie release. There's a lot of crap that gets thrown in a lot of cast lists for movies that just aren't real. After a movie is released, IMDb becomes very rock solid. But don't always. So, yeah, I noticed that too. That was on there a long time ago. So, maybe he's in there. Maybe he's not. But an IMDb listing is by no means a guarantee, particularly before a movie comes out. So just keep that in mind. All right, Kyle Beckworth writes, who was that doing voiceover after Tony? Peggy C? No, I just think that was Black Widow. I thought that was very clearly Black Widow. I don't think that was Peggy at all. But wouldn't that be something, though, Kyle? Wouldn't that be something if that was Peggy? Because you remember somebody earlier on in this show suggested that, you know, is there more significance to the fact that we're seeing so much Peggy or hearing so much Peggy's voice? Could there be more significance? I don't think so. But wouldn't that be something if that was Peggy's voice? And by the way, no, to me, it very clearly sounded like Black Widow. So, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll have to go back and listen to it like really closely again. Patrick Conway writes, so glad Okoye will have a good sized role. I simply don't know how big of a role she's going to have. She's on the poster, but then again, everybody's on the poster. I think if you look close enough, I'm on the poster somewhere. There's a lot of people on that poster. I don't think that necessarily means too much. I honestly don't know how big of a role she has. I hope it's a significant one, though. There's only so much screen time to go around, though. Micah T. writes, how genius were they to use old footage to hype us up? I feel like I've seen almost nothing. I love it. Is the theory of Thanos not being the main villain holding some weight? We haven't seen much of him. That's exactly where my head's at right now, Micah. My head's is exactly in that frame. I'm giving more and more weight to this. Again, if I was forced right now to put $100 on it, I would guess, okay, Thanos is the main bad guy. But I'm telling you what, man, for this reason you just mentioned and other reasons, I'm bit by bit, more and more, buying into this idea that, you know what, Thanos' part in this story is now done. He won. He won in Infinity War. And now his story is done. And now the story of the Avengers trying to recreate something new out of the ashes of what Thanos left behind may have a new adversary and a new villain to confront. And it very well could be that it ain't Thanos. Again, if I had to put $100 on it, I would admit, yeah, it's likely Thanos. But I'm telling you, more and more, I'm starting to buy into this wild theory that it ain't Thanos, that Thanos isn't the main bad guy of this movie, that his part in this story is pretty much done. And what we're left with now is just the shadow of that he cast and what he did cast over everything. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way it works out. So I'm starting to buy into it more, Micah. I'm starting to buy into it more. All right. Old Flicks Joe writes, pure speculation. That's the best kind. Pure speculation. I think Endgame will reboot certain events from the MCU and Nick Fury will recruit Spider-Man as the first new Avenger. What do you think? Well, when you say reboot, I'm not quite sure what you're getting at here, Old Flicks, because if you're saying that this part of the universe rebooted and like Spider-Man is his first recruit, well, wouldn't Spider-Man... I mean, we saw in the trailer for Far From Home that Peter Parker knows who Nick Fury is. One can only assume that's because of the Avengers. So therefore, the Avengers had already been brought together by Nick. So I don't know. Maybe Nick... the trailer made me think, and maybe I'm wrong. When I say the trailer, I mean the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. The trailer made me suspect that Fury and Maria Hill were in London for... Was it London? I can't even remember what city they're in now. London? Paris? Can't remember. Anyway, they're in Europe. That they just happen to be there and they need some backup and some help. And Fury knows about this Spider-Man kid, so he goes and recruits him since he's there. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's more significance to it. Maybe this is kind of a rebooted reality and Spider-Man becomes one of the first recruits. It's totally possible, man. That's one of those way out there theories, but one where you'll score a lot of bonus points, Old Flicks, if it ends up being true. So let's keep our eyes on it. All right. Patrick Conway writes, guess Clint and daughter join his wife and sons for lunch, all laughing and smiling, then ashes, Avengers logo. Cry time! Cry time! I'm telling you guys, I really believe that the opening of this movie will be one of two things. I either believe the opening is going to be Scott getting out of the quantum realm, or the opening is going to be Clint on the farm with his family, showing his daughter how to shoot a bow and arrow, hanging out with the family, and then the dusting, and they're all dead. Cry time! It's cry time. Everybody in America starts crying and weeping for Hawkeye. It's possible, man. It's possible. Dominic Francis writes, be interesting if Captain Marvel and Thor have their own little side story in part of the movie, searching for Thanos. Excited for their dynamic. Again, there's a lot to suggest that even in this trailer, Dominic. Like, we see the Avengers marching off in the quantum suits. No Captain Marvel, no Thor. Right? We saw in the previous trailer that it looks like Thor arrives on the world that Thanos retired to. Maybe Captain Marvel's with him as well. So, yeah, man, that's not a far out theory. I think there's a lot in this new trailer to back that up. So I absolutely believe that Thor and Captain Marvel, maybe even with Rocket, but Rocket was with War Machine at some point. Anyway, but I do believe that at some point, Thanos and Captain Marvel fly off on a side mission that supports whatever the rest of the team is doing. So it's one of these things like a Star Wars final battle where there's 3 separate battles going on and all 3 of them have to succeed, you know? And maybe that's the situation we have, but I think this trailer backs that up. All right. Straight Outta Asgard writes, the quantum energy somehow leaks out of the quantum realm, I believe because the Avengers going in and out multiple times that affects certain number of people resulting in mutations. No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. Because here's the thing. When they were putting this movie together, they had no idea there was a Fox-Disney merger coming. Kevin Feige is not the sort of amateur that would go, oh, let's change what we're doing and force in some stuff. I just don't see Kevin Feige doing that. Kevin Feige has said he's not even going to think about this stuff until after the deal closes. And the deal's not closed yet. And he was so, remember, we just talked about this story about how Noah Hawley, who is the creator of Legion and who announced at Comic-Con last year or 2 years ago that he was working on a Doctor Doom movie. We just did this story on the John Campea Show the other day that Noah confirmed that he had had a conversation with Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige simply asked him, hey, are you still working on Doctor Doom? And then Noah said, yeah, you should read the script. And then Noah said, and I haven't heard back from Kevin Feige ever since. And my whole thing is, of course he hasn't, because Kevin Feige can't. Until this deal is closed, Kevin Feige cannot operate on the assumption that, oh, we have everything now. No, that's collusion. That'll look bad. You're endangering a $71 billion deal if you do that. I believe this movie will have nothing to do. I mean, maybe later they'll say the X-Men stuff had something to do with the events of Endgame, but we're going to see nothing directly connected. I really believe we're going to see nothing directly connected in Endgame to the X-Men universe, to anything like that. We're not going to see anything in there because that would raise too many red flags. It would endanger the deal and all that kind of stuff. I remember a lot of people thought, in Infinity War, we're going to have Wolverine show up. And we try to tell you guys, like, no, they had the plan for this movie. They can't do anything with these characters. They can't even plan for these characters, really, not officially, until the deal closes. Kevin Feige's not even returning Noah Hawley's phone calls right now because he can't. He can't. He's got to wait till after March 20th. Now, after March 20th, all the rules change. But, I just don't see any of that happening now. Like, maybe later they explain it some other way, but I don't believe you're going to see any references or whatever to mutants and Fantastic Four or anything like that in this movie. I just don't think we're going to see any of that. So if we do, that'll be something. I'll be surprised, and it's possible. Anything's possible, but I really don't think so. All right. Vince Carter of Mars writes, what if Galactus appears in the post-credit scene? Who do you think should play him? Do you have a list of your top 5 choices for the role? I mean, LOL, you clearly are joking. It's like, dude, first of all, you're combining a what if, but at least you asked a question. You say, what if, who, and then you follow it up with a question. Who do you think, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't care, and you know that Galactus isn't going to pop up. But I did propose to Robert, and I thought I was going to make Robert cry the other day. But I said, imagine this, though. The mid-credits, so the credits have been rolling, then the screen goes black, and then the screen comes back up, and it's just the deep darkness of space. And then slowly, out of the darkness of space, this just dark, shadowy silhouette of Galactus. You don't see him clearly, just a dark silhouette of Galactus. And then all of a sudden into the screen, this silver, you don't quite see what it is, but just this silver streak go whoosh, and fly by, and that's it. Then the screen goes back again. I thought Robert was going to cry when I said that. I seriously do. I thought Robert was going to cry. I do not believe at all that we're going to see Galactus in this. But oh my God, how much would we all freak out if that actually happened? How much would we all freak out if that actually happened? I would suggest a lot. Nay, a hell of a lot. Okay, let's keep going here. Where are we? Was that, wait a second. Okay, here we go. Et al-Hook writes, I don't think we've scratched the surface on the scale of Endgame. I think this movie is going to be truly galactic with a small amount of time on Earth. I don't know. I don't know why you'd think that. I mean, it's possible, but why can't it be huge in scale and also just take place on Earth? Right? But I don't know. That's intriguing. I hadn't really considered that a lot of it happens off Earth. I mean, look, we know that at least in a part of this movie, Thor goes to the world where Thanos retired. We know that from the previous trailer. We know part of it's going to happen in outer space where Tony and Nebula are struggling to survive. But we also know they end up back on Earth. Then they go into the quantum realm, but that's on Earth. So, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Etta L. Hook, I haven't really considered that the majority of the movie takes place elsewhere, but I think it still can feel very grand in scale while taking place on Earth. But it's an interesting theory. Let's keep our eyes on that. Patrick Conway writes, I struggle to come up with theories. Everything is a question, but I think Peggy will be back in some way. The OG6 defeat Thanos and dead heroes return at end. I mean, it's a possibility. Again, that assumes Thanos is the big bad that they have to fight. I don't see how defeating Thanos brings back Peggy Carter. I don't see how that happens. See, there is a theory out there that Captain America goes back in time to live with Peggy. Okay, but that totally destroys the timeline. That means Captain America is dead and wasn't there to help the Avengers defeat the Chitauri that come and invade New York and all sorts of, all the the man that Peggy then married because Steve was gone, the kids that she had, it just totally wrecks the timeline if Captain America goes back in time. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, Patrick, look, you're right. It brings up a lot of questions, but that's as valid a theory as anybody else. So let's see how that turns out. Okay, Mr. Mayhem writes, if time travel is a thing, Captain America is going to wield Mjolnir. You know what? Somebody else mentioned that earlier today. I still don't buy it. I just don't believe a mortal human being. And Captain America is enhanced, but he's still a mortal human being. I don't think a regular mortal can wield Mjolnir. And maybe I'm wrong. Captain America did get it to nudge a little bit, but I think that's the extent of it. I really don't think we'll see more, but man, if he does, a lot of people have been waiting to see that since Avengers Age of Ultron, right? A lot of us have been waiting to see that. That would be kind of fun. I don't think it'll happen, but wouldn't it be a hoot if it did? A hoot. Philip Gong writes, Avengers fight Thanos in first 20 minutes and lose. Or win. Like, that's the other possibility here. Maybe they do confront Thanos in the first act of the film and they defeat Thanos. Okay, there's their vengeance. But then they still have to try to come up with a way to create a new reality or whatever to bring everybody back. That doesn't have anything to do with Thanos. That's another thing. So I don't know why they fight Thanos in the first 20 minutes and lose. If anything, I think if they fight Thanos in the first 20 minutes, and that's a big if, but if they do, I think they probably win. Because remember, Thanos is damaged now. The Russo brothers said in their Infinity War commentary, Thanos is now permanently damaged. And the gauntlet is permanently damaged. So they would be fighting with a lot more firepower against a much more depowered Thanos. So I think they would win that fight. I do. John Jordan writes, Captain Marvel won't be OP. I guess it means overpowered. Captain Marvel won't be overpowered in Endgame because she's powered by the Space Stone and Thanos has it and the others. He could simply absorb her powers. I don't buy that. I think she got her powers from the Space Stone. But the Space Stone doesn't govern her powers. Much like Scarlet Witch got her powers from one of the stones, but it doesn't govern her powers. And remember, it wasn't a direct infusion from the stone that gave Captain Marvel her powers. I can't go into the details of it in case some of you haven't seen Captain Marvel. But remember, it wasn't a direct thing. So no, I disagree with that. And she's not overpowered anyway. If anything, she's kind of downward powered from what she is in the comic books. But, I don't think she's overpowered at all. Philip Gong writes, after losing, will we see Ant-Man and go to Quantum Realm? Oh, you're saying that you think they'll lose, and then we'll see Ant-Man go to the Quantum Realm. Again, I don't know that jives with what we've seen in the trailers so far. I don't think that goes along with what we've seen in the trailers so far. And again, I just don't think that Thanos plays that big a role. Maybe he does. But I still believe, Philip, that if they do confront Thanos early in the film, I think that's the end of Thanos. And then they move on with what the rest of the movie is really about. And Thanos' part in the story is actually pretty small compared to the rest of the MCU. Again, the theory is that Thanos' real part of the story in the MCU came to a close in Infinity War because he won. He accomplished his mission. His journey is now done. The theory that they confront him later on, possibly, but I don't think it plays a majority of the part of the movie. But maybe it does. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Apex Caliber writes, if it's a new reality, X-Men MCU confirmed? No, they won't fool around with that here. Not in this movie. They won't fool around with that in this movie. Kadar Hicks writes, Thanos and Avengers are both whatever it takes minded in order to achieve their goals. Thanos' snap was universe altering, and so will entering a quantum realm. One coin, two sides, fate corded. Interesting way of putting that, Kadir. And it is, you're right. One of the big takeaways that we had about Thanos in Infinity War was, and Thanos repeated this several times, the will to do it. It's not about strength. It's not even about power. It's the will to do what needs to be done. And I think you're absolutely bang on when you talk about how, that's kind of the same attitude the Avengers are now putting forth. Whatever it takes. Hey, Captain America's had a code, man. We don't trade life for life. We don't do this thing. We don't do that. We don't do this. But now, After the dusting, now we hear Captain America saying, whatever it takes. Even if it takes him doing things he wouldn't have done before Infinity War. Now, it's whatever it takes. Now, it's they've learned the lesson from Thanos. You've got to have the will to do what it takes to get the job done, whatever it is job you're trying to get done. So I think you're really onto something there. How that will play out and what kind of effects them going into the quantum realm will have, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I do believe you're right on the money there, talking about that, a direct connection between the lessons they learned from Thanos and how they're now applying it to themselves with the whatever it takes mantra. That's a little bit of a different mantra than we've heard out of Captain America before. So clearly there's a fundamental change. So I think you're really onto something there. All right. Enrique 305 writes, hey, John, any chance we'll see original Groot back? Oh, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. Because remember, James Gunn has confirmed the new Groot is not Groot from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, you could sort of say it's Groot's kid or Groot's son, but it's not Groot. A lot of people just thought, Groot just regrew. But that's not. This Groot is not that Groot. James Gunn has confirmed that many times. So could we see the original Groot back? I hadn't even thought about that. You know what? Yeah, I'll say there's a chance. I think there's a chance that happens. Purified Geek writes, and by the way, thank you for the amount of that super chat, man. That's very generous. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Purified Geek writes, do you think a main character could die for good before the final act? If so, who would it be? I mean, look, I just don't think anybody in the MCU dies for good. At least not the main heroes. This is the MC Fake Death U. Or the MCFU. The MC Fake Death U is what the MCU is. Nobody dies and dies permanently. Like I've said before, I don't think Captain America dies in this movie. Now, eventually, at some point, he will, but like everybody said he was going to die in Winter Soldier, and I said no, and he didn't. Then everybody said he's definitely going to die in Civil War, and I said no, and say, well, John, you don't know anything. In the comic books, yeah, I get it. You get shot on the steps of the courthouse. I understand that, but this ain't the comic book. It's the movie, and I'm telling you, he ain't going to die in this movie. And everybody said he was going to die, and he didn't die. And then we went into Avengers Infinity War, and everybody said Cap's going to die in Infinity War. I said he's not going to die in Infinity War, and he didn't die. Now we're coming into Endgame, and everybody again. I mean, I guess if you just keep predicting it, eventually it's going to happen. But, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he dies. But I think there's a better chance that he dies in this movie than any of the other ones ever had. Like with Winter Soldier, I thought there was a 0% chance. With Civil War, I thought maybe there's a 2% chance. With Infinity War, I thought maybe there's a 10% chance. But this, there's a real chance he could. I'd say like 40%. Which means I still don't think he will, but there's a good, solid, decent chance he does. But here's the thing. Even if he does die, it ain't the last we're going to see of Chris Evans as Captain America in the MCU. Even if he dies in this movie, which I'm not convinced he will, but even if he does, it will not be the last we see of him. He'll be back because this is the MC Fake Death U. This is the MCFU. And he will be back. And if Tony dies, which I don't think he will, but if he does, he'll be back. He'll be back. So, I mean, do I think a character could die for good? No. None of our main characters. I don't think any of our main characters will be dead for good. I even think there's a chance Quicksilver comes back in this movie. The one hero, but granted, he was only around for half of a movie, but still the one hero who has actually died and not come back, I think there's a chance he actually comes back in this movie. So, honestly, Purified Geek, I don't think any of them do. I don't think any of them do. The most I'll be willing to say is that there is a possibility Captain America dies, but even if he does, I think he's coming back. So there's that. All right. Mixed Bag Clips writes, the Dust had come back. Their DNA altered X-Men. Again, no, I don't. There's not going to be any connection between the X-Men and this. This movie was put together before there was any such deal. Even as we stand right now, the deal is still not complete. If they were working on stuff before the deal was complete and given all the final government approvals and everything, it could screw up their $71 billion deal. So I don't think that's going to happen at all. So I think we can get past that pretty quick. I mean, if they do, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. And let's face it, I've been shocked before. Venom will never make $800 million. Remember that? And it made $800 million. Aquaman will never make $1 billion. Remember that? And it made $1 billion. So I have been shocked before. Let's not kid ourselves. I've been shocked before. But it just seems there's legal problems if they were working on incorporating X-Men stuff in this movie when the merger was never approved by the government yet. You have to act in good faith. And if they do anything to jeopardize a $71 billion deal over what? A little movie that might make them $2 billion? You're going to jeopardize a $71 billion deal for a movie that will get you $2 billion? Really? I just don't think they're going to do that. So I don't think that's a possibility right now. Anyway, but I mean, it's a great thing. Look, if all this wasn't a problem, then what you're proposing here makes plausible sense. It's something that could work. But the fact is, we are living in a circumstance where incorporating X-Men stuff is just not something they're allowed to do. So I just don't see it happening. But again, who knows? Aaron H. writes, people were mad because she was the only one on the poster without her name credited at the top. I agree, it's a ridiculously stupid thing to get mad at. It is. It's a ridiculously stupid thing to get mad at. Look, in marketing, nobody is owed anything. You're not owed a name on the poster. Posters are meant to promote the movie. And if having your name on there promotes the movie, great. And if not, whatever. Nobody's owed anything. And for all we know, Okoye's in 5 minutes of this movie. For all we know. So you're right. It's a ridiculous thing to be mad at. That some character doesn't have their name up in the title spot. It's a ridiculous thing. Because we simply don't know. Now look, if we watch the movie and she's in an hour of this movie, then yeah, that's kind of questionable that her name wouldn't be in the top credits. But for all we know, she's in 5 minutes of the movie. It's a ridiculous thing to get mad at. Anyway, Glitter Geek TV writes, this is like Patton Oswalt's MCU rant on Parks and Rec. That is one of the greatest moments in television history. If you guys have not seen what Glitter Geek TV is talking about here, one of the greatest moments in televised history, and you have to watch the full thing that is only available online. There was this episode of Parks and Rec, which I love Parks and Rec. Patton Oswalt was on it, and he was trying to conduct a filibuster in Pawnee City Hall. And to conduct the filibuster, he went into detail his theory that the MCU was merging with Star Wars, and that the Star Wars universe and the MCU universe were being merged in. And he just ad-libbed it. It wasn't scripted out. Patton Oswalt just ad-libbed this huge long thing, and it's gold. If you have not seen it, go to YouTube, search for Patton Oswalt, Parks and Rec, MCU rant, and just watch him go, because it is one of the most hilarious things ever. It's incredible. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Glitter Geek. Okay, Static Space Sean writes, I really hope the resurrection brings back Mjolnir. I still call him Mew Mew from Thor 2. Mew Mew. I think that was from Thor 1 that she called it. Did she not refer to Mjolnir as Mew Mew in Thor 1? I thought she did. Maybe it's just from Thor 2. Anyway, I'd love to see Thor's reaction to seeing his friend again. It's possible. I mean, I guess Mjolnir has a consciousness. I mean, it decides to... I don't know. Can an inanimate object come back from a... It's possible, I guess. But the reality is that Thor now has a more powerful weapon. He has, as Peter Dinklage called it, a king's weapon. He has something so powerful it can even summon the Bifrost. A weapon so powerful that even a fully stoned up Infinity Gauntlet firing a blast at Thor, Stormbreaker cut through it like butter and just jammed into Thanos' chest. He's got Stormbreaker now. I mean, he may love that hammer, but he got Stormbreaker now. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they work that out. Okay. Guys, I'm going to answer this one more question. And then I'm going to take a 5-minute break because my voice is starting to go, as you can probably tell. I'm going to take a 5-minute break so I can gargle some water and refill my drink. And then I'll be right back and we'll continue on with our Avengers speculations here. Kella EQ2 writes, the reason there were people upset is because the only actor featured on the poster that did not have an above-line credit was Denai Guerreros. Again, I understand that, but just because you're on the poster doesn't mean your name gets to be up there. And even if you're the only one, it doesn't matter. For all we know, like, why not just be happy that she's on the poster? Again, all I'm saying is, we don't know if she's in an hour of the movie, in which case, damn right, her name should be up there. We don't know if she makes a glorified cameos in 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. In which case, why does her name get to be on the poster? If she's in like 5 minutes of the movie. We just don't know, so why get upset over something we don't know? That's my only thing. Like, I can see that that would be something to observe. Oh, hey, interesting thing. There's only one character that doesn't have their name up there. But couldn't you then turn around and say, oh, you're right, we should take her off the poster instead of saying we should put her name up there? I mean, again, it's all based on things we don't know yet because we don't know how significant a role the character plays. All right, I'm going to take a 5-minute break here, guys, and as soon as I'm done, we're going to come back and jump right back in with Magic K. We'll be right, if anybody comes along saying, hey, wait a minute, where's this Avengers Theories video? Just let them know we're only on a 5-minute break. I'll be right back, guys. Thanks for being here, and let's talk some more Avengers as soon as I get back. I'll see you guys in just a minute. All right, and we are back. Thank you so much, everybody, for indulging me as I took a little bit of a break there. I had a friend of mine take me out for dinner last night. My buddy sold videos like, Campea, you should really be taking a break like every 45 minutes to an hour. They say like the Twitch streamers they'll take a break like every 45 minutes. You can't go every 2 hours and take a break. You got to start taking breaks more frequently because my voice has been taking a beating lately. Anyway. Let's keep things rolling here. And we're going to start things back up with Magic K, who writes, Cap probably finds a way to undo the snap, but cause worse result that even him feels regret. A worse result than half of all life in the galaxy being wiped out? I mean, I don't know how it gets much worse than that. I mean, if he can undo the snap, what could be worse than wiping out half the life in the universe? All the life in the universe? I don't know. Magic. I mean, let's see what that could be, but I don't know if they simply undo the snap. Doesn't that kind of unravel everything that happened in Avengers Infinity War? I'm not sure, maybe, but undoing the snap does something worse? Worse than half the life in the universe? I don't know. Let's keep our eye on it, though. Maybe you're right. Mad Poncho writes, I ship Thor and Captain Marvel. It is crazy seeing how many people ship Thor and Captain Marvel. I don't want to see it because we only have precious, limited time for Avengers Endgame to happen. 3 hours at most, maybe shorter. I don't want my precious screen time used up with a love interest. But I mean, as soon as that moment happened in the trailer, everybody across the internet was shipping Thor and Captain Marvel. So you're not alone, Mad. You're not alone at all. All right. Jared McBride writes, Star-Lord challenges Thanos to a dance-off. Well, don't forget he's dusted. It would be difficult. I do love that. I got to say, Jared, I love that one moment in Infinity War where they're on Titan and the Guardians are there with Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. And they're trying to explain that, what they do. And Drax goes, tell him of the dance-off to save Xandar. It's like, what? I love that scene, man. I love that. Apex Caliber writes, Clint's daughter taking up the role of Kate Bishop. Oh, crap. Now I can't remember who Kate Bishop is off the top of my head. So I can't. Who is it again? I know this. Anyway, I'm freezing on that, Apex. Sorry about that. Alex Von Gollum writes, I think Thanos will try to prevent the Avengers from undoing the snap. Gauntlet is useless, but maybe all the stones still work. He could still use them with a new weapon, so he'd still be tough. I don't know, because, see, I would think that too if it wasn't for the trailers. And you could very well be right, Alex. The reason I pause, though, is because it looks like the Avengers, or at least Thor, goes to him. I don't think Thanos is aware of what's going on. I think Thanos, like you saw it in the trailers, he's taken off his armor. His armor's now just hanging like a scarecrow. He's probably just farming, living off the land, and resting. Remember, that's what he said to Doctor Strange. Like, what then after you destroy half the thing? Then I rest and watch the sunset on a grateful universe. I think he's just gone to retire. He's done what he set out to do. And I don't think he's got a magic ball like the Wicked Witch of the West, watching everything that the Avengers are doing just in case they try to undo what he did. I think they go after him. At least that's what I gather from the trailers. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. It could be completely wrong. Like every theory any of us have about Endgame could be completely wrong, or maybe there's something to it. But it seems to me, looking at the trailers, that it's not about Thanos coming after them. It seems like they're going after Thanos. And it's not even all of them. It looks like Thor in the trailer, and maybe Captain Marvel is with them because she's not with the rest of the group. So, I mean, let's keep our eye out for that, though. Let's keep our eye out for that. All right. Sharon Aurora writes, what if Avengers Endgame is like Kill Bill 2 with little action? It's possible. It's possible it could be like Kill Bill 2, where they've decided to go drama heavy. But this is still an MCU movie. And even in the drama heavy trailers, we've seen glimpses of action. It's an Avengers movie. There's going to be action. I'm reminded a little bit of Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, which I still contend is a fascinating movie, but a bad comic book movie. Bryan Singer with Superman Returns did a study of a god man who desperately yearned to be human, yet could not. He struggled with knowing how to be among them. What does it mean to be who he is, yet who he wants to be? On that level, Superman Returns was wonderfully done as a character study movie. But everybody walked out unsatisfied. At least a lot of people walked out of that movie unsatisfied because it wasn't a very good comic book movie. Like, Superman fought a plane falling out of the sky. Superman fought lifting a mountain. Those were the big action sequences. Lifting. It was, as a friend of mine used to say, you could have renamed Superman Returns to Superman Lifts Shit. That's what you could have called the movie. And that was the big complaint. And I think Kevin Feige is a student of history of the genre as well. So I don't know that he would make that mistake. But who knows? I mean, maybe they just do decide to end things off. But would you end off your series something completely different with that what all previous 10 years have been? I don't know. Anthony Cullen writes, opens Captain Marvel and Avengers going to get the glove from Thanos only to see it doesn't work. Time skip, life moves on until Scott shows up and learns of the quantum realm. See that, Anthony, I think you're onto something there. Because what you just suggested is completely consistent with what we have seen in the trailers and what we heard from the Russo brothers. Now, that doesn't guarantee that this is what happens. It doesn't guarantee it. But this theory makes sense from what we heard in the director's commentary of Infinity War, that Thanos and the Gauntlet are permanently damaged. And it stands to reason with everything we've seen in the trailer so far. Avengers, like Thor and Captain Marvel, go find where Thanos is. They want to try to either kill him or force him to use it, and it's done. And that depresses everybody, and now they have to move on or look for another solution. And maybe that happened, and that would explain why we don't see Thanos a lot in the trailers. That would explain a hell of a lot. That in the first act of the film, they do go that planet, find him, and only to find that their answers aren't there. The gauntlet just simply doesn't work anymore. And you can't just simply snap everything back to the way it was. Now they go back, everybody's depressed. What they thought was their one chance to make things right is gone, and they're all super depressed now. They were already depressed before, but they hung on to hope. All we got to do is find Thanos and we can make this right. So they got something to hope for. But then they find out they do find Thanos and they still can't make it right. That is ultimate depression there. And then Scott Lang shows up. And suddenly now, there's new hope. I think you're onto something, Anthony. I really do. I think that makes complete sense. Whether it happens, let's find out. Ray Stone writes, over, under, Cap has interaction with Peggy Carter during the first Avengers era. Keep hearing the possibility he stays behind. What's your thought? Well, I mean, there's something very romantic about that notion, Ray. There's something very romantic about the notion of that. Again, the problem comes in, you're going to get your Back to the Future problem. If he suddenly is gone, it completely rewrites the timeline. The Avengers never stop the Chitauri invasion of Earth. This never happens, and this never happens. And Hydra just rises to take over S.H.I.E.L.D., and nobody discovers it and until it's too late. And, Project, whatever the name of the project was, with the S.H.I.E.L.D. gunships and airships, wiping out people on Earth and blah, blah, blah. Like, all that gets undone. So it creates problems if Steve just goes back in time and decides to stay in the past. What happens to Peggy's family and the husband she had and all that? What happens then? Like, I don't know. There's something very romantic about the idea, but it causes some problems too. So I'm not sure. It's a possibility. It just seems to introduce some problems though, doesn't it? I don't know. It'll be fun. Well, let's see how that works out. Everett Lewis writes, this is the first Avengers poster without Hulk. Ooh, I hadn't thought of it. I mean, yes, but remember, it's still a little bit of semantics because Hulk's there. Bruce is in the poster. Bruce is Hulk, but you're right. This is the first Avengers poster that has Bruce and not Hulk. I hadn't thought of that, Everett. Good observation. All right. James Schultz 86, and thank you so much for that super chat, James Schultz. Thank you so much for supporting the channel that way. I really appreciate it, man. James Schultz writes, Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, man. Have to agree with Robert Meyer Burnett with either time travel or universe hopping in Endgame. Would be crazy if Thanos is revealed to be dead at the start. Ooh, how nutty would that be? Traveling back to prevent movie scenes to collect stones before. Possibility, because piggybacking on what I think was Anthony said a little bit earlier, imagine they go back to confront Thanos, and not only does he tell them, hey, nothing works, cool, you're here, fine, take the gauntlet, but it doesn't work anymore. What if they go there, and remember, I speculated this on the John Campea Show a few weeks ago, what if they go there and just find Thanos dead, that ultimately he died from his wounds? The wounds he's... Whew, almost spilt my soda. The wounds that he suffered at the hands of Thor. So he gets back there. He goes to this world to rest, to retire. Takes off his armor, hangs it up like a scarecrow, whatever. But as the days go on, he's getting weaker and weaker from his wounds, and his wounds don't heal, and he just dies from his wounds. And they get there to find a dead Thanos and an inoperable Infinity Gauntlet. So that very much, James, could tie in directly to what Anthony was talking about. I mean, that could be the situation that we find right there. Now, as far as either time travel or universe hopping or something akin to that happens, like whether it's actually time travel or universe hopping, those are two very different things, by the way, or new realities merging or whatever, something along those lines happens, right? Because they ain't just going to find the magic undo snap button and then everybody pops back. I mean, they're not going to do that in this movie. So it's going to have to incorporate dimension hopping, reality merging, maybe, as the popular theory goes, time traveling. I mean, there's got to be something outside of the ordinary, like one of those things that takes place for this to happen. Because how do you bring back 3 billion people who have died? And that's just Earth. How do you bring back 3 billion people? There's no button you press to do it. It's going to take something ridiculous. Time travel, reality mergings, universe hopping, whatever, something along those lines has to happen. I'm just not convinced it's time travel, but it very well could be. So on that level, we'll have to kind of see what happens. Now, if it's time travel, do they go back, recollect stones? I mean, I guess you could. Can you do that to Infinity Stones, though? I mean, I don't know. It raises a lot of questions. What if the answer has nothing to do with the Infinity Stones at all? Right? I mean, I think a lot of us just assume that the answer will involve Infinity Stones. What if it doesn't involve the Infinity Stones? I mean, should we consider the possibility that it doesn't involve Infinity Stones? It might involve something else, something we're not even aware of yet. Ooh, the possibilities are endless. But yeah, James, I concur. It's got to be one of these extraordinary things. Reality mergings, universe hopping, time travel, something along those lines. One of those things has to come into play, I would think. Or maybe they don't. Let's wait and see when the movie comes out. Again, thanks for that, James. Appreciate it. All right. Zombitron5678 writes, will we see other worlds being snapped or just Earth? Like what other races reacted, like the Kree, Novacore, Skrulls, the Sovereign, Frost Giants, etc.? I think it would be a missed opportunity, Zombitron, to not at least briefly give us a 30-second clip, 30 seconds of Hala, the Kree homeworld. Dust, what's going on? You know, the Sovereign, the Frost Giants, I think it would be a missed opportunity. It doesn't guarantee it'll happen because we already know that's what happens, right? There is an argument to be made that you don't need to show us things we already know. There's an argument for that. And we already know half the Kree are gone. We already know half the Frost Giants die. We already know, Xandar was already decimated, apparently, even before Thor Ragnarok happened, but we already know that. So do we have to see it if we already know it? I'd like to. I think just it brings that word I made up, tangibilization. It just makes it more tangible for us as the audience, and it makes it more visceral. It makes us feel the impact. We know it, but if you show it to us, we can feel the cosmic level of the tragedy of it, not just the Earth level of the tragedy. Because we know half the Earth died, but by showing us what the Earth looks like now, it makes it more tangible for us. And I think it would be a missed opportunity if they didn't show that galaxy. So yeah, I believe there's a chance for that. I believe they will. Out of Time writes, over under 45%, Dusted Avengers return before Act 3. That's a good question. And 45% for Act 3 is a good enough. See, I thought you were going to say Act 2, and I was going to take the under on that. But before Act 3, good question. Before Act 3 and not during Act 3. Okay, it's close. And that's how you know you set a good over-under number. I'm going to take the under 45. Close, but I'll take the under that they get undusted by whatever means before Act 3 even begins. I'll take the under on that. All right, Javier Belmer writes, I think that they'll have to correct reality/time and basically die so that their rewritten versions take down Thanos stronger, united, assembled. That's a possibility. Again, that makes the assumption that Thanos is the big bad. But you're suggesting that whatever it is they need to do, they redo in a sense to bring back stronger versions of themselves to confront Thanos where they lost, only this time they win. Yeah, possibility. The one thing I'll say is, the glimpses, and granted, Javier, they've been very limited glimpses. The glimpses we've had of the battles in the of any of the fighting that we've seen going on don't resemble anything like any of the battles they've had with Thanos on any world. So, but maybe that gets all rewritten too. I don't know. Or maybe those are just separate battles. It's interesting. Let's keep an eye on that. That's an interesting theory, Javier. I hadn't considered that one. All right. Logan Astrup writes, Thanos will help the Avengers undo the snap. Ooh, I really don't think so. I really don't think so. I've heard a lot of people, Logan, propose that, but look, Thanos believed in this so much. He saw his homeworld die because he didn't do anything. He carries the weight of that conviction with him. He believes in it so much, he killed Gamora, the only thing in the universe he loved. He killed Gamora, he believed in that so much. You think 1 year later he goes, you know what, I don't think I should have done that. No, he was rock solid in that belief. So I don't believe that at all. I mean, hey, let's keep our eyes on it. It would be interesting. It would certainly be a curveball. So but I got to say, I don't buy into that one. Kella EQ2 writes, in my opinion, the Boom trailer is coming when the tickets go on sale. Absolutely agree. But this Suit Up trailer is marketing gold, especially for those who saw Captain Marvel. No, it's a really good move. And what this trailer does, as my voice continues to dust in front of your eyes, what this trailer does is it really targets those of us who are already the core audience and gets us more excited. What this trailer has not done is done anything to get people who really aren't MCU fans on board. And believe me, they want to get more people on this train. And I believe that's coming. I believe the tickets go on sale April 2nd, and I believe there will be a new trailer April 2nd. That will be the Boom trailer, as we call it, Kella. And it'll end with tickets on sale now. Dropping your pants, masturbating like hyenas, buying all the tickets. That's the process of things. I should make a t-shirt. Process. New trailer, dropping pants, blah, 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 buy tickets. Anyway, but this trailer was very effective. And I think you're absolutely right, too, especially when you consider, like, the Captain Marvel connection. You might have been able to show her doing a little bit more than standing there looking at Thor, but it was still effective. It was still effective, man. There's no denying that. All right. Michael Bradley writes, Nebula survives and Tony doesn't. She's able to make it to Earth. The Avengers suffer another huge defeat. Ant-Man shows up, and they decide to try and go back and save Tony before he dies. Well, Michael, I will say this. I always like hearing theories that I haven't heard from anybody else. This is definitely a theory I haven't heard from anybody else. Nebula survives, gets back to Earth, but Tony doesn't. The Avengers suffer another huge defeat. Ant-Man shows up, and they decide to try to go back and save Tony. How huge of a defeat if none of them die? Because apparently all the surviving Avengers are still there. But go back and try to save Tony before he dies. So I don't know why they wouldn't have done that before, but it sounded from the trailer like he was on the brink of dying. It sounded like he was on the brink of dying. And on top of that, here's what I wonder. I believe that shot that we see in the first spot of Tony in space recording a message to Pepper, that clearly happens in the very first part of the movie, or very close to the first part. Can we see Nebula get off Titan, get back to Earth, join up with the Avengers, they come up with a plan, they mount a big offensive, have a big battle, lose the battle, then come up with a new plan to try to go and get Tony, go and get him all in the first part of the movie? I don't know. I mean, again, full points for originality, because I've not heard this theory before. I haven't heard anybody speculate that Nebula gets back and Tony doesn't. I mean, that would explain a couple things. It would explain a couple things. I just don't know if they might prove to be a little bit too problematic. But God, it's an outside of the box theory, man. Let's keep our eyes on it. All right. Terry writes, what Kevin Feige has done is absolutely incredible. The MCU's success will be very hard to replicate. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. It's basically going to be Lord of the Rings. A bunch of studios for years after Lord of the Rings tried to replicate it, but most of them couldn't even get a movie on screen. Peter Jackson made Lord of the Rings look easy. And then he did The Hobbit, which proved it wasn't easy because The Hobbit was nowhere near as good. I still like The Hobbit, but it wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings. Everybody's going to try to... We've already seen people. We saw the Universal with their Monsters universe, their Dark Universe, try to replicate what Kevin Feige's done. And everybody thinks it's easy. Even the fans. The fans all think it's easy. Oh, it's easy. Look how easy it is. It's impossible. It is so hard, which only reemphasizes just how incredible what Kevin Feige has accomplished here. Just nuts. Absolutely nutty. And it will be very, you're right, Terry, it'll be incredibly difficult, nay, impossible for them to replicate. All right. Javier Belmer writes, following my point, the reason they failed in Infinity War is that they weren't assembled. Two different fronts and split up. The rewritten team will be ready. Well, I mean, you don't even need a rewritten team for that. Right? I mean, I postulated before that, look, had Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Captain America and Vision and Scarlet Witch and Thor and a more mentally stable Hulk and all of them been there at once, I think they could have taken Thanos. You don't even need a rewritten version of those. You just needed that team. But again, Javier, this whole theory relies on the idea that Thanos is once again the big bad. And Thanos is once again the centerpiece of this story. So I don't know. Maybe. Is the idea that they just try to stop Thanos from snapping? Is that what this is? If so, that doesn't explain how Gamora comes back. Because Gamora obviously died before the snap. And we know Gamora's coming back one way or the other. But, I mean, again, I think there are some things that your theory would explain. I think it presents some other problems. But it's intriguing. It's intriguing. I mean, the notion, too, that they have to mass sacrifice. Like, not just the notion that Captain America sacrifices himself, but, like, they all sacrifice themselves, right? In order for the universe to be reborn. I mean, that's something in there, too, and then a rewritten thing, and then maybe Thanos is a part of that. Maybe he's not even a part of it. Maybe that solves everything. I don't know. A lot of stuff there to unwrap, though, Javier. A lot of stuff for us to unwrap, even within your theory. I like it. All right. John DeBenedict writes, my theory. The movie will pull a Saint Elsewhere twist, with everything being inside the mind of the kid from Iron Man 3. By the way, just saw Captain Marvel. Overall, okay. I like Captain Marvel. I don't think it's a top-tier Marvel film, but I thought it was quite good. No. What they will not do here is pull a Dallas or a Saint Elsewhere or something where it was all just a dream. Oh man, you want to undo, you want to undo 10 years of goodwill with the fans like that, like a Thanos snap. You want to undo 10 years of goodwill with the audience, you pull that. If they're in Endgame, and it gets towards the end, and Black Widow wakes up, and like everybody's standing around, like Scarlet Witch is there because she's bunking. Her and Black Widow are sharing a room at Avengers headquarters, and Scarlet Witch goes, "What is it, Black Widow?" And Black Widow goes, "Oh my goodness, I just had the weirdest dream that an alien named Thanos was getting these things called Infinity Stones and wiped out half the Earth. Wow, good thing that was just a dream. Ba 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 ba." Roll credits, right? You want to see anger? You want to see people taking to the streets in outrage and rage and storming the gates of Disney with pitchforks and torches? Oh my God. You think the people who got mad over Star Wars, who got mad over the whole fake Captain Marvel thing, you thought that was bad? It ain't nothing. You are going to have armies of people from around the world flying into Los Angeles to storm the gates of Disney and burn that place to the ground. You want to undo 10 years of goodwill? Oh my God, it was all a dream. Oh my God, they'd be so pissed. It's funny because people have asked me before, and they said, do you think if this movie's bad that Marvel can recover? And I've always said, oh my God, if they blow one movie, they'll be fine. It'll just be a road bump. But holy crap. And I know you were just joking, John. I know you were just joking, but imagine that. Imagine that they get to the end of an Endgame and it was all one of Tony's PTSD bad dreams. He wakes up, I had this terrible dream that, after Sokovia and after we beat Ultron, there was this being came to Earth named Thanos who got the Infinity Stones and wiped out half the Earth, and we tried to stop him, but we failed, and then we went into the quantum realm and tried to fix everything, and we couldn't come back. Thank goodness it was just a dream. Ba 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 ba, and the credits roll. Woo! The rage would be real, my friends. The rage from everywhere. That would destroy the MCU like that. Just like that would be done. Anyway, Andy Poon writes, John, the stylized color in the beginning are the color of the quantum suit. They are relating it to time, quantum rewriting history. I know I don't think so, because I believe what we saw was simply in the trailers. That's not something from the movie. It's just from the trailers. And if that was the case, why would everything be gray? Why wouldn't they also highlight the whites? Because those outfits were more white than they were red. So I can totally see Andy YU and a few other people are making that connection, but honestly, I think we're thinking about it. I think we're overthinking it. I think it was simply an aesthetic style choice to denote what was a flashback from another movie versus what is new footage now. And they happen to highlight the color red of Thor's cape. Iron Man is traditionally the red armor, all that kind of stuff. I really don't think it was anything more. Now, if those shots were actually in the movie, which I do not believe they are, then maybe there's a little bit more foundation for that belief. But since I believe these are just images used for the trailer for marketing, nothing beyond that, I honestly think it was just a stylistic choice and nothing more and more significant than that. And I get it. We as fans, particularly we as MCU fans and comic book movie fans, we desperately dive in and search for meaning in everything. That means this. But sometimes that is just that. Sometimes black and white, but highlighting the red color in a trailer was just a very beautiful aesthetic choice by the directors, and really nothing more. I'll be honest with you, I think it's nothing more. Now, you are not alone in this belief, though, Andy. There are other people who think there is a deeper significance to that, and once we see the movie, we'll find out. Again, so I'm saying I don't buy into that one. There's a bunch of theories today I've bought into, a bunch I don't believe. This is one of the ones I don't buy into, but let's keep our eye on it, because again, Andy, you're not the only one to think it. There are other people who think it too, and maybe you're right. Let's see how that turns out. All right. Weasel writes, loved the trailer, so hyped for this movie 4 days before my birthday. Happy birthday to you, man. We haven't seen Okoye. Do you think that her story arc will play a major part, and will Shuri show up early or late in the movie? Well, I think the Shuri thing's been answered. She's one of the dusted, because in the earlier trailer, her picture went up amongst the missing, right? So I think she's dusted. We don't know that 100% for sure, but I think that's a safe assumption at this point. As far as Okoye goes, I just don't know. Look, this is still just one movie. And I think the major players are going to be Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow. I think your OG Avengers are going to be your main characters. Including, and clearly Ant-Man has a major role to play in this as well. That being said, I don't know there's a lot of room. Again, I'm just speculating here. I don't think there's a lot of room for an Okoye to have a major story point. I just don't know there's room for it. I don't know that there's room for Rocket to have a major story point. I don't know that there's room for War Machine to have a major story point. I think there are your central characters, and then you're going to have your auxiliary characters with whatever time there is for them to explore those characters. But I don't think it's going to be much. So I'll be honest with you. No, I'm not expecting that Okoye's story arc will play a major part in this movie. I think she will be there, much like Rocket will be there, much like War Machine will be there. But I think the vast lion's share screen time of this movie is going to be your OG Avengers, your Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Widow, Hawkeye. I think that's your core, and Bruce. And then there's going to be a little bit of time left over for the supporting roles, but I don't believe a lot. So no, I just don't think Okoye will play a major role. And I think Shuri, my speculation is she will show back up when everybody else shows back up. Now, whether that's in the second act or the third act, I don't know, but I don't think she's coming back before then. Let's see. John Jordan writes, Avengers are beaten down. Cap struggles up, straps on a shield. I can do this all day. And has his neck broken by Thanos. Wow. I mean, that would be a way to go, but I would love to hear that line. I'll tell you what. I would almost rather hear him. If Kevin Feige called me and said, hey, Campea, listen, we've got room in the script in this one scene that Captain America can say one of two things. He can either say, I can do this all day, or he says, Avengers assemble. I might prefer him say, I can do this all day. There's something inspiring when he says, I can do this all day. There's something about that I would, like, I'm dying to hear him say Avengers assemble, but if I had a choice, there's only one, I'm taking that one. Javier Belma writes, you think the new reality will open door to mutants? Maybe in the long term, but not in this movie. It's just not really something that can happen. Again, you should never say never, but I mean, there are legal ramifications here that I just don't think make that possible. So maybe what happens in this movie, they later on retcon a little bit and say, oh, because that happened back then, now in this movie we're saying this happens now. There could be some of that down the road, but I don't think we're going to see any of that play out immediately in Endgame itself. Who knows? Let's see. Suthius85 writes, hey, Mr. C, I'll be fine if Thanos isn't the main villain. I'm more interested in the outcome and the consequences that come from whatever they do, whether a new timeline or reality is created. Yeah, and you know what, Suthius? Rob's kind of the same thing. He's like, and I agree with him. The one little sense of dissatisfaction we're going to get is if Endgame just undoes all the consequences of what the events of Infinity War was. If we get to the end of Endgame and every negative consequence is just wiped off the page, I don't know. I mean, look, let's take Star Wars, for example. The end of Return of the Jedi did not undo the tragedy of Alderaan. The end of Return of the Jedi did not undo the terrible things that happened in Empire Strikes Back. The end of Return of the Jedi didn't undo the consequences of all the things that had happened. It was the win for the good guys, and the good guys won, but the consequences of getting to that victory were still very real. There will be an element of dissatisfaction, I believe, if in this movie they just hit some magic button and say, oh, all the bad things are gone. With there being no lasting consequences to the events of the previous movie, then we're left to ask, why did the previous movie even happen? You know? It'll be interesting. Look, and again, I'm saying that having not seen the movie. Maybe the Russos and Kevin Feige have come up with a plot device that makes it both complete and satisfying at the same time. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All I can say is, as a fan speculating looking forward, I suspect I'll feel a little bit ripped off as an audience member if they simply say, all the bad things are gone now, nothing bad happened, yay! Like, so really? Really? There wasn't a way to get the victory while maintaining the weight of the consequences. Like, we know certain characters got to come back, we know that, but what are the consequences of what has happened? Does Endgame simply erase the consequences, snap the fingers and everything's good again? Or do they fix the situation at a price? A heavy price. A heavy, universe-shaking price. And the consequences were still paid. I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, Suthius, but I got to see some kind of consequences still in play, you know what I mean? Romance Nyogu writes, Asgardians make their new home in Oklahoma, maybe? Well, it seems to me it would be Norway. Isn't that what they said? Wasn't Norway where they said they would do it? It makes sense to me that it would be Norway, but maybe Oklahoma, who knows? By the way, do they ever even get to Earth? Like, who knows? Maybe Valkyrie and Korg say, okay, we escaped Thanos' ship. Thor wanted us to go to Earth, so chart a course to Earth. And maybe they eventually wind up on Earth and, yeah, settle their establishment there. I hope they do. I want to see the Asgardians back. However many of them are left now. Alex Von Gollum writes, man, the reconciliation reunion of Tony and Steve. Hope the Russos nail it. It's a great link of the beginnings and end of Phase 3, electric goosebumps. Oh, I agree, man. Like, we can talk, Rob talks a lot about how they got to stick the landing, and they do. But I got to admit, man, going into this movie Endgame, one of the things I am most excited to see and looking forward to seeing is the reconciliation of Tony and Steve. And I'll tell you what else. Take this for what it's worth, but I believe this. I believe Tony now has fully embraced that Cap was right all along. And I believe that whole thing that people are saying, like, if they hadn't been split up, they might have been able to stop Thanos and all this kind of stuff. And I think Tony now is not just a wreck from what he saw happen, but now it's dawning on him that these Sokovia Accords, all this stuff that broke up the Avengers in the first place and blah, 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 it ultimately led to the Earth not having the protection it needed because they had to fight Thanos separately and divided. And if it had been Hulk with Thor, with Cap, with Iron Man, with Vision, with Scarlet Witch, if it had been all of them united, to hell with those damn Sokovia Accords, that none of this might have happened. And I think there's going to be a moment of that for Tony. I really do. I think there's going to be a moment of that for Tony in this movie. But even if it's not, just Tony and Steve, Captain America, who I believe is a figurative leader of the Avengers. Like, I think Cap is the leader of the Avengers. Iron Man's kind of is the face of the MCU. To have the leader of the Avengers, the true leader of the Avengers, with kind of the face of the MCU, these two pivotal characters, burying their differences, coming back together. I am looking forward to that scene maybe more than any other scene in this movie. And it's not even action, and it's not even a fight. And if Kevin Feige were to call me, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this scene, guys. Seeing the hair stand up on my arm. If Kevin Feige were to call me right now and say, hey, Campea, I know you don't want to see the whole movie, but I'll come over to your place right now and show you either a scene of Hulk going berserk and truly being the Hulk again. I can show you a scene of Captain Marvel and Thor teaming up and fighting Thanos. Or I can show you a scene of just Cap and Tony sitting down together in a room, seeing each other for the first time in years and burying the hatchet. I'm like, that's the one I want to watch. right? Not the big action, not the big explosion, not even all that other stuff I want to see so badly. That's the shot I want to see. I want to see that one. I would go to this movie just to see that scene. I'm like giddy to see it. Anyway. Okay. Rusky9110 writes, do you think the MCU will ever get into multiverse stuff? I don't know. I'll say this. I hope not. I'm not a fan of multiverse stuff. I'll straight up tell you that. I'm not a fan of multiverse stuff. It's like an over-reliance on multiverse stuff is some of the things that eventually started getting me out of comics. I'm not a fan. That's not to say it can't be done well. But it's such a cheap gimmick and such a cheap, oh, no problem, we just say it happens on another Earth. All I say is I'll hope not. I hope not. Could they? They could. But I'll just tell you right now, I hope not. I don't want them to, but maybe they will. Sveen86 writes, do you see Rocket and Goose as a potential team up? Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, they've had their issues in the comics. There's a rivalry there. But, I mean, first of all, look, we don't even know if Goose is in this movie. But if he is, you got to have a Goose and Rocket scene. I would love to see a Goose and Rocket scene. That would be great. Sam Tampa writes, can't wait for Hulk to get some ass. You and me both, Sam. I want to see Hulk. I want to see Cap turn to Hulk now that Hulk and Bruce have worked out their differences. And Hulk's back in the game now. And Cap turn to Hulk again and go, Hulk? Huh? Smash. That smile again, and then just watch Hulk wreck shop. I'm dying for that. All right. Let's see. Rory Nolan, who sends in a huge super chat. Thank you so much, Rory. I really appreciate that, man. It's very generous of you. Anyway, Rory writes, General Ross tells Banner that Betty got dusted, which draws out Hulk. Maybe. He certainly... But here's the thing, though. I've always been curious, Rory. I've been wondering if and when they were ever going to get back around to mentioning Betty again. Because how long has it been since they've mentioned... There's been no mention of Betty since Mark Ruffalo took over as Hulk. Like, not the slightest mention of Betty at all. And, you know, she's the love of his life. And then he's falling in love with Black Widow, which I thought was awesome. I thought that was one of the best parts of Age of Ultron. But there's been no mention. So I don't know if the dusting of Betty is what brings out Hulk again or not. Because, I mean, he hasn't even mentioned her in years, right? But I have often wondered a lot about, will they ever bring Betty back into it? Does Black Widow move on to a different love interest? Some people thought it would be Captain America. I never thought that, but some people did. Some people think from this trailer that her and Hawkeye hook up. I don't think so. I just think they're very, very close and dear friends. But that's possible too. But do they get that romance between Natasha and Bruce back on track? Do they let that one go? And then if so, do they ever maybe getting around to bringing, again, Betty back? I mean, because Thunderbolt Ross is there. Why not even a mention of Betty at this point? So I'll say this, Rory. Because she hasn't even been mentioned, I doubt that the concept that Betty has been dusted, I doubt that's what brings back out the Hulk. Because remember, I believe that when this movie starts, we're already a year after the events of Infinity War. I believe it's already been a year. So he would have found out already whether or not Betty was still alive. And if Hulk hadn't come out by then, I doubt it. But let's just say this, Rory. I would love to see them reintroduce the character and see what kind of ramifications that causes. I just don't think that's going to be the catalyst to bring the Hulk back out. But who knows? Let's wait and see. And again, Rory, thank you so much for sending that in. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. All right, Da298 writes, I feel like Cap already sacrificed his life in the first Avenger. Oh, I mean, Cap is all about sacrifice. Whether he's the scrawny kid throwing himself on the grenade, whether he's putting his own plane down into the Arctic to save the world, whether he's willing to let Bucky kill him in Winter Soldier to try to get through to Bucky, Captain America, if anything, is always about sacrifice. It's always about sacrifice. So yeah, he's already sacrificed, but he's continued to sacrifice on an ongoing basis. Javier Rios 405 writes, will Professor Hulk show up, or maybe something like Grey Hulk, like Mr. Fix-It? I've been talking about that for a while. I don't think so. But, it was brought up earlier, the notion that what if Bruce and Hulk, because remember, in Infinity War, we saw Bruce being able to communicate to Hulk, right? In the Bruce form. What are you doing? No. What do you mean, no? And they're able to communicate, right? Well, what happens if they're able to start working together the other way as well? That when Hulk is in Hulk form, he can communicate with Bruce. I mean, that raises some possibilities. That introduces some possibilities. Whether or not, that actually manifests into something, I don't know. But does that manifest in like Red Hulk or Gray Hulk or, whatever? Does he start wearing a Vegas gangster suit too? But for those Hulk, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe, or maybe it's just a slight variation in his personality now that Banner and him are on the same page. I don't know. A lot of things are possible. I'll say this. I don't think we're going to see Red or Gray Hulk. I think Hulk's going to be green. But could we see a fundamental shift in him? Yeah. And could that express itself in a different color Hulk? Maybe, but I doubt it at this point. All right. Here we go. Mad Poncho writes, could Catherine Langford be playing Hawkeye Child? Okay, here's the problem. I don't know who Catherine Langford is off the top of my head. Now, I'm going to look her up, and I'm going to kick myself that I didn't know who it was. The actress from Love, Simon. By the way, watch Love, Simon. Really special little movie. I like that a lot. Oh, I see, because she's listed as one of the actresses in Endgame. Okay. Could she be playing Hawkeye's child? I don't think so. I mean, I don't think the age lines up there, does it? I don't think the age lines up. I'm going to go ahead and guess no, Mad Poncho. I'm going to guess no, but it's an interesting, maybe there's something they could do there. I'm going to guess no. For now, I'm going to say no. Kyle D writes, where is Nebula, Ant-Man, and Captain America in the trailer where everything is destroyed and in ruin? Soul World. Is this the final battle scene? I don't know. I don't know if I buy into Soul World. Now, here's the interesting thing, Kyle. You are not alone in that belief. There are a lot of people with a lot of theories that revolve around the Soul Stone and a Soul World. There are some people who even believe that Thanos didn't actually kill everybody. He just teleported them into the Soul Stone, or some alternate version of reality. Now, I reject that theory. It's possible, but I don't buy into that theory simply because Thanos never talked about like just teleporting everybody into a different place. He eradicated them, but he eradicated them quickly and fairly, and he called it a mercy. So, because you would think if he was just trying to teleport everybody into a different reality where they're all fine, why wouldn't he just tell that to everybody? It's like, oh, everybody calm down. Like, all the Avengers are coming at him, and he's like, whoa, look, I'm not going to kill anybody. But our universe is unsustainable the way it is, at least in his belief. Our universe is unstable the way it is. I'm simply going to send them to another reality or another plane of existence or into the Soul Stone or something else where they are still going to have full, happy lives, except they're going to be in a place where there's no shortages of resources, and our existing universe will have no shortage of resources. I'm not killing anybody. Like, it just seems to me if that was what Thanos was doing, he would clarify to everybody, hey, whoa, don't get so upset. I'm not killing anybody. I may be separating people from loved ones, maybe, but I'm not killing anybody. Everybody's going to be happier for this. You'd think he would have said that, so that's why I don't buy into that theory. So all that stuff like happening within Soul World, hey, look, it looks very apocalyptic. Where at least where Nebula was. So I can't, look, I'm going to say I don't buy it, Kyle, but I can't reject it out of hand either. So let's chalk that one theory up to one that let's keep our eye on. All right. John Jordan writes, Nebula is a villain. She only wants Thanos dead. She'll get the gauntlet, and Thanos has to team up with Avengers to take her down. Long shot. Well, now hold on a second. There are some things that make that not so crazy. Now, I'm not going to go into the details, but I mean, the comics, that's not exactly how it plays out, but the comics kind of set a precedent for something like that. So maybe, but they showed it's not like the Thanos crisis is what just automatically turned Gamora. We saw, not Gamora, I'm sorry, Nebula. We saw Nebula and Gamora reconnecting as early as Guardians 2. We even saw that there was still an emotional connection despite Nebula's anger in the first Guardians. And that has been something that has slowly developed and evolved over time. So while I believe there is some precedent here for your theory, long shot or not, there is some precedent there. I'll still say it's a little bit out of character for what we've seen being developed on screen over the course of years. And over the course of a couple of different movies. So, like, remember, too, even when Thanos was torturing Nebula, and the torture would stop if Gamora would just tell her where the stone was, Nebula was still saying, don't tell him. Like, basically, let him kill me, let him torture me, but do not tell him where that stone is. So, I don't know. I don't know that she's a villain. But again, it's not the craziest theory because there is some precedent there to give a little bit of credence to it. So I won't buy it. I won't buy it. But you can't just dismiss it out of hand either. So let's keep an eye on it. All right. Magic K writes, Marvel short, Bruce chat with sad/angry Hulk. I'd buy that. I'd buy that short. If I went on to Google Play and saw for $10, I can watch a 7-minute Marvel short of Bruce and sad, angry Hulk chatting together. I'd buy that in a second. That and Nick Fury with Goose. I'd buy those two shorts like that. Even if they're short, I'd pay $10 for them. I'd buy that in a second, Magic. Chris Hidrogo writes, do you think Abomination survived the snap? Ooh. See, one of my favorite things that I like to think about in the MCU is the fact that Abomination's still alive. He's a great villain, and I'm always glad they kept him alive, and they've always said he's on the raft. Do I think he survived the snap? Wild, with no basis in facts, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to guess that Abomination did indeed survive the snap. All right. Caleb Kaiser writes, I don't think Cap or Tony dies. I believe the movie will end on Tony and Pepper having their wedding and Tony leaving on a high note. Yeah, I'm buying into that, Caleb. I've been convinced by you guys. That seems to make a lot of sense. I think they have their big win, hopefully still with consequences looming. I think Tony survives. I think Cap survives. I think they both ride off into the sunset in one way or shape or another. I don't think we'll see Chris Evans again as Captain America for a little while. I don't believe we've seen the last of him as Captain America by any stretch, but I believe we will go a little while without him, maybe a couple of years. But I think they'll go off, right off into the sunset in one way, shape, or form. I think Tony says, okay, I'm hanging up the suit. Me and Pepper, because she's pregnant, me and Pepper, we're going to focus on this. So you guys go protect the universe. You can have my resources. I'll fund you guys, but just leave me out of the superhero business, all right? And Cap says, and me, I'm going to take a long-deserved break. And he's going to go away and be whatever. And I think we'll see them again, but not for a while. John Jordan writes, the living intelligence could be the new villain. Do you mean the Supreme Intelligence? Possible, but I don't know if the Supreme Intelligence is still at play. Again, I can't go into it without getting into Captain Marvel spoilers, so I can't say much more beyond that. Andrew Naranjo writes, theory, instead of Cap dying, he lives the rest of his life back in the 40s with Peggy, just like the dream sequence in Age of Ultron. Again, that's been brought up a few times here today, Andrew. There's a lot of people who have that theory, so there could be some credence to it. Again, my problem is that it creates a Back to the Future problem, a timeline continuum issue. Because if he goes back and does that, it wrecks the timeline. Everything that happened to Peggy wouldn't happen after that. The man she was supposed to meet and marry wouldn't have happened. Then all the different events of the result of Peggy Carter being with this other man and what choices she would have made and blah, blah, and the whole timeline collapses. Then Cap's not there when the Chitauri invade New York. And Cap's not there to help them defeat Ultron. And Cap's not there to... it creates what I call a Back to the Future problem for him to do that. So I'm still going to guess no. But they have been dropping those hints, like the vision he had in Ultron, the fact that we keep, he looks at Peggy's picture and we hear her narration. I mean, hey, look, there's stuff there to back up at least having the theory. So I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand. I don't buy into it because I believe it causes problems, but maybe they have a way to work around that. So let's keep an eye on it. All right. Zach Milne Talks Movies writes, trailer gave nostalgic feel, saw Iron Man at age 9. Wow, at 9 or 10, you were young, Zach. And it does. I mean, they play that beautifully. They build upon the foundational stuff that made the MCU for us to lead into this new thing. And they played that off in the trailer, Zach, and they played it off really well. And I think that was part of the genius of it. You're right. New excitement at the new stuff, while at the same time giving us those nostalgic feels. I think you absolutely nailed that, Zach. All right, Cinema Fans Podcast Show writes, it's Peggy's voice. It's a voiceover from Winter Soldier when she's talking to Cap in her bed. Well, no, yes, that part is. But if you're referring, Cinema Fans, to what we were talking about earlier, we're talking about the voice that says, whatever it takes. We're talking about that specific part. I know the earlier part was Peggy's voice. Absolutely. That was taken directly from that conversation. Absolutely, that was Peggy. But what the question was whose voice was it that says, whatever it takes? I don't think that was Peggy. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't analyzed it close enough. Off the top of my head, I'm still pretty sure that was Black Widow. But you might be right. But that's the part we were talking about, not the earlier part. Just so I'm clear on that. Roosevelt Cavazos writes, I think the fight scene with, I don't know who WM is. Oh, War Machine. I think the fight scene with War Machine, Raccoon, and Captain is the final battle when Tony Stark has that vision in Age of Ultron. Look, common mistake here. Tony did not have a vision. All right? Tony did not have a vision of the future. We've had to go over this on the show a few times. All Scarlet Witch did was make him see his deepest fear. Scarlet Witch did not give him a vision of the future. She was just manifesting his deepest fear, that his failure causes the death of everybody, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people, for some reason, have misunderstood that entire scene as saying, oh, Tony had a vision of the future. No. Scarlet Witch just made a manifestation in his mind of his deepest fear. That's all it was. It wasn't a vision of the future. So that's why I don't buy into that. But I can see why you'd go there, because a lot of people have. But that's a mistake in understanding of what that scene was in Age of Ultron. It wasn't a vision of the future. So that's important to understand. All right. Snake Jerusalem writes, I think those flashbacks are sleight of hand and actually part of the movie. The Avengers are sending their minds back in time using the quantum realm. Hey! That would be one possible theory about why that happens. Because look, my operating assumption here is that those flashbacks are strictly, like we've seen in other movies. Other movies have done this with other franchises. They are simply there for the marketing purposes. They're not something from the movie. The flashback of Thor with the All-Father Odin, the flashback of the Cap had, all those flashback scenes that are in black and white with slashes of red. I just think those are for the trailer. I do not think those are in the movie, and I still don't. But I guess we shouldn't just discount the possibility that maybe it is in the movie. Maybe I've been too quick to just dismiss that out of hand. Maybe it's a possibility. I still don't think so, Snake, but you might be onto something. You might be onto something there. Let's keep our eyes on it. All right. Oh my gosh, another big jump. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, that was a Snake Jerusalem. Okay, guys, we have gone over 2 hours now. So I am going to request that at this point, we have no more super chats. Only because my voice is not going to be able to handle it. My voice is simply not going to be able to handle it. So I'm going to request no more super chats. If you have sent, or like take You got 30 seconds to put in one more. But at this point, I am going to request no more super chats because I think we still got like 40 or 50 questions to go. And we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes. And my voice is starting to die. So if I'm going to have any hope of doing the John Campea Show tomorrow, I got to wrap this. I got to wrap this up within the next 45 minutes or I'm dead. So no more super chats, please. I just want to finish off the ones that we have already, and we still got tons to get through. Okay, we move on, and we get to Sebastian Dietz, who writes, poster, everyone looks in one direction except Thor. Ooh, I did not notice that. Hold on, let me open up the poster here. Hold on a second. Avengers Endgame poster. Let me see here. Let me see. Huh. Okay, there's two people looking in the different direction. You know what? Let me actually bring this onto screen so we can all, understand what it is we're looking at here. Okay, so here we are. We've got everybody is looking off to my left, all right? Everybody's looking off in that one direction, except for two characters. Thor, who's looking off over to his left, and Okoye, who's looking off out to her left. But Rocket, Cap, Nebula, Hawkeye, Widow, War Machine, Ant-Man, Bruce, Tony, hell, even the ominous figure of Thanos in the background is all looking in one direction and only two characters looking at the other direction. That's interesting. Does that have any significance? I don't know, but I'll be honest, Sebastian, I didn't even notice that. Maybe there's something to that. Okay. Macaulay Denning writes, what do you think is next after Endgame? Spider-Man Far From Home. That was easy. Spider-Man Far From Home is what's next after Endgame. Javier Riaz writes, do you think they'll try to rebuild Vision? I doubt it because they don't have the stone. They need the stone to rebuild Vision. At least that's what I think they need. I think they to do it again, they would need the stone. Maybe Shuri would figure out a way that they could rebuild him without the stone, but Shuri's dusted. So I'm going to guess no, but we do know that a Vision and Scarlet Witch television show is coming, so he's got to come back somehow, so that's totally possible. Let's see here. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, what if the Avengers see the future and Thanos was right and the universe is better because of what he did? But that's not the case. Like what we see in the trailer is the world in ruins. Like even that shot with Scott, you can see like everything's overgrown now. Like the world's gone to hell. When they show the Statue of Liberty, like there's this shanty town of boats that are just, it seems like the world's gone to hell. So it looks like that's not the case. At least that's what we gather from the trailer so far, Pedro. All right. Gabriel Mengisha writes, I feel like the crew walking together in the white costumes is a red herring, like in the Infinity War trailer where they all run together at the end. Damn, Russos are sneaky. Well, I mean, that wouldn't be a Russo brother decision. That would be a Kevin Feige decision. I don't know. I just don't see a need for that. Like, I could see what the misdirect in Infinity War accomplished, but I don't see what just showing a shot of them walking together, not running into battle, not doing some big thing, but just walking together in some suits. Is there a need to use that as a misdirection? I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. By the way, there's a lot of people, Gabriel, online that are speculating there's some misdirect going on in that. Like some people even speculate that Tony Stark and Nebula aren't actually in that shot. That they're just put in that shot for the trailer and the trailer only to be a misdirect. Possible. They've done stuff like that in the past. I don't think there is because I don't see the need for it, but maybe. That's total possibility. All right. Haskell, 420 writes, I've seen the trailer 12 times and chills every time and during different parts each time. By the way, Peggy lines after Tony is straight out of Winter Soldier. Old Peggy talking to Steve. 80% of the dialogue from previous. So yeah. I was talking simply about the whatever it takes. That was the one line that I was talking about. I wasn't talking about the other lines. That stuff was clearly Peggy. Absolutely. But you're right, Haskell, man. I've watched this trailer probably a dozen times now. And you're right. Chills. Absolute chills every time. It's crazy how good it is. For somebody who hasn't followed the MCU, if you just watch that trailer, it's a stupid trailer that makes no sense. For people who have been on board with the MCU and following it along, it means an awful lot, and it does give us chills. For my cousin, if he just watches this trailer, he's going to think it's the stupidest trailer in the world because everything's going to go over his head. None of it will have any meaning for him. They need to put out a trailer that's going to appeal to a wider audience. But this one certainly is great and gives chills for those of us who know what's going on. Let's see here. Donnie Yasu writes, what do you think about actors parting with their roles without the characters being killed off, i.e. Thor leaves for years to rebuild / rule in Asgard? Yeah, why not? Look, you can have, in the MCU, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, has been around. She just hasn't been here. And so we haven't been telling her stories. But she's been around. Doesn't mean that we have to have been following her all this time. So why not? Why not say Thor leaves Earth to take his people to a new homeworld or back to New Asgard or something like that, and he's just gone and unreachable for a number of years? Sure, why not? It'll give the MCU a chance to invest in new characters. It'll give those actors who've been playing these characters for years a chance to take a break and play other characters and take other roles. I mean, it could accomplish a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm totally for it, Donnie. I'm totally down for it. All right. Lucas James Weisman writes, Thor had the hammer at the end of the ad. No, that was Stormbreaker. And why wasn't he in the end of the trailer with all of them walking the line like he was in the TV spot silhouette? Well, I think it's because we talked about, number one, that wasn't Mjolnir. That was Stormbreaker. You could see that the handle and the arm was very clearly the Groot's arm that he attached to it. So that's not Mjolnir. It doesn't look anything like Mjolnir, except for a flat back. But even then, the flat back of Stormbreaker has all those glyphs on it that Mjolnir did not have. But at any rate. And why he wasn't with them in the trailer, well, my theory, and the popular theory, is because all those team members were going off to do one thing, while Thor and assumingly Captain Marvel probably went off to engage Thanos or to see if they can get the thing back. So it's like a Star Wars movie, right? At the end, there's usually a battle going on 3 different fronts. I've got a feeling that here we're going to get that as well. And they did that in the Infinity War. There was the battle going on in Wakanda while there was a battle going on Titan, while Shuri is up in the tower trying to get the stone out of Vision's head. So there's multiple things going on multiple fronts at once. So I'm guessing that's why Thor is separated from everybody else at that point. That's my guess at any rate. Okay. Kevin Ostrander writes in, and thank you for that super chat, man. That's very generous of you. Appreciate you supporting the channel on that level. Thank you very much. You keep this channel alive, man. Thank you. I would love to see them fighting Thanos in the city, and randomly that Charger pulls up with the Ghost Rider and Coulson stepping out. Ghost Rider versus Thanos won't happen, but I'd love to see that. Longtime fan, keep it up. Thank you so much, Kevin. Yeah, that's less of a theory as a wish list item. I don't know. Okay, here's the problem with that. A lot of people going to see this movie do not watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so all of a sudden, Ghost Rider pulling up and coming out, so to a lot of people in the audience would be, wait, what? Who's this? Where'd this guy come from? But would there be a little bit of a geeky delight in that happening? Well, Kevin, I gotta say, I'll have to side with you on that. I think there would be a little, even though I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I love Clark Gregg. He's terrific, and I love his Agent Coulson character. But I'm not a fan of the show. Still, there would be a definite level of absolute geeky delight if that were to happen in the show, or if that were to happen in the movie. Absolutely geeky delight. So that would be kind of cool to see. Thanks again, man. And let's see. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're getting in here, and we have never seen an MCU movie reference anything out of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. They've never referenced anything in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show ever. Maybe in this final chapter they do. Maybe it's about time they do. I don't know for sure, but hey, it's possible. Okay, let's move on here. Suthius85 writes, do you think Endgame will introduce us to a new hero that will be a part of the upcoming phases and even have their own movies? I don't know. See, and here's why. It seems to me like you already have so much ground you got to cover. There's so much ground to cover in this movie. Do you really have time and space to introduce new major characters? Like, think about it. Infinity War didn't. I mean, we had the Black Order, but they were just side henchmen that had just a couple of lines of dialogue, and that's about it. They didn't really introduce new major significant players in the game, right? They didn't have time for it. With so much to do in this movie, do they have time to just introduce new major characters? I don't think this is the movie to do it. I don't think this is the movie to do it. So I'm going to go out on a limb and guess no. Ultron did, like they introduced us to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, but this is different. This is different. So I'm going to guess no. My guess, at any rate, is no. Never put anything by them to try, but my guess is going to be no. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, do you think Monica is dusted? Ooh. You know what? I hadn't even thought about that, Murray. I'm going to guess yes. That would give a little bit more dramatic oomph to Captain Marvel, right? Again, I'm not going to go into the details too much because I don't want to give anything away from Captain Marvel that people aren't aware of, but I'm going to guess yes. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess yes. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, Cap's final moment. Avengers assemble, sacrifices himself for his soldiers / friends. Hopefully he gets a chance to have his last dance before death. Possible, look, Rufino, there are a lot of people that believe Captain America dies in this movie. A lot of people that believe Captain America dies in this movie, and it's certainly a possibility. But again, I don't think he goes out. I don't think he goes out. I think he's still alive. Now again, if everybody keeps saying he dies in this movie, whatever movie it is, eventually they'll be right. So people said he was going to die in Winter Soldier. Then people said he was going to die in Civil War. Then people said he was going to die in Infinity War. And now people are saying he's going to die in Endgame. It's certainly a possibility. But I still don't think he will. I still don't think he will. And if he dies, he'll be back in a couple of years because it's the MC fake death universe. It's the MC fake death U. That's what this is. So he'll be back, but I still don't think he's going to die. All right, guys, listen. We've been going for about an hour, a little over an hour since my last break. I need to take a 3-minute break here because I need to run and use the bathroom because we started this 2.5 hours ago. I need to run and use the bathroom quick, and I once again need to refill my drink. So just a short, quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to continue on here with our Endgame spoiler discussion. Not spoiler discussion, sorry, because I haven't seen Endgame yet. Hopefully, I might be seeing it in 2 weeks. I might be seeing it in 2 weeks. I don't know for sure, but I'll let you guys know for sure a little bit later. But yes, I'm going to take a quick short break, and I will be right back. I'll see you in a minute. All right, everybody, we are back. We are now in the home stretch. We're going to see if we can polish off all the remaining things. I went off, got a new drink. Thank you very much for giving me a break. And let's keep things rolling. Okay, next up is Suthius85, who writes, if there is a timeline/reality reset by Grabthar's hammer, I shall avenge thee. By Grabthar's hammer, I hope we are not subjected to a Thor and Jane part 2. I will Bruce Lee everyone I see on the street if we do. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they say Jane lived. Man, look, I love the first Thor movie. The first Thor movie, directed by Kenneth Branagh, is still to this day one of my all-time favorite MCU films. It's one of my all-time, top 10 to me still, of the greatest comic book movies ever made. I love that movie. But the Thor and Jane relationship never worked for me. Never worked for me. I do not want her back. And the funny thing is, you've got a world-class actress in Natalie Portman playing the role, but it's just a character that never worked for me. Despite, Natalie Portman, one of the greatest actresses in the world, doing it, it's just, it was not written properly. And I never bought into the relationship. And I liked it even less when we got into Thor: The Dark World. So I was quite happy when Thor and Jane broke up, per se. It was a mutual dumping. I was very happy to hear that. I don't want to see it back anymore, so you're right, Suthius. Whatever they do in this movie, one of the things I do not want them to reset is the Thor and Jane relationship. Please keep that one far away. I'd rather see Thor with Captain Marvel at this point. Don't bring Jane back into it. All right. Durhama1 writes, when Marvel did that deal with Fox to get Ego the Living Planet, do you think it was a chance Marvel got Galactus and is keeping him for Phase 4? No, that wasn't part of the deal. We know that wasn't part of the deal, so no, there is no chance for that. But they can have him for Phase 4 now. Now they can have him for Phase 4. But in that little side deal they did to get Ego the Living Planet, no, that was not part of the deal. Haskell420 writes, when are you finishing your Captain Marvel spoilers fan questions? Well, we're supposed to be talking about something else here, Haskell, but I'll just tell you, Robert is working on a bunch of them right now. So those will be posted later tonight or tomorrow. And then I'll have another one after that. We're really swamped. It's like, look, it's 6:30 in the evening here, Pacific Coast. I've been working since 5 a.m. We're trying very hard to keep up, but I mean, give us a little patience. They're coming. They're coming in the next 48 hours. But so they're coming soon. All right. San Salvatore writes, I think they defeat Thanos quickly, but the gauntlet is too damaged to undo the snap. So they return to Earth and use the quantum realm to alter time. That, San Salvatore, is very similar to what I think was Anthony suggested earlier, that, basically early in the film, they go and find Thanos and they're like, we've come for the gauntlet to undo what you've done. And Thanos goes, go ahead, take it. It doesn't work anymore. It's useless now. Go ahead, go take it. And they realize it doesn't work for whatever reason, and they got to go back and employ a new thing. But I love that notion that, they think they've done it, so they've been clinging on to hope for a year, that all we got to do is find Thanos, get him to undo what he did, and then everything will be fine. So they clung on to that hope, and then they do find Thanos and realize he can't undo it. And then the depression sets in. That now the hope is gone until Scott Lang shows up. So that's all totally possible, San Salvatore. All right. Mike Hill writes, I think time travel and reality change will be at play kind of like how Flash goes back in time to change something but comes back different reality. It could. Again, I'm not a fan of it. Just go back in time and fix it. There's something, I find time travel an incredibly lazy plot device in movies. It's like, we've created a problem that we don't have any way around. Time travel, just go back in time and fix it. And that's why now look, there are great time travel stories, be there Back to the Future, Star Trek, Voyage Home, but no, I just find it to be, I hope they don't just do, let's just go back and fix it, I hope there's a little bit something more to it than that, Mike, I really do, but it'll be interesting to see what the consequences are. Again, Mike, what I don't want to see is them getting to the end of the movie and just have the big victory with no price. Thanos won Infinity War. There has to be some kind of consequences to that. It can't just be we hit the reset button and everything's fine. No consequences, everything's great. Get the victory, but there needs to be a cost. A consequence of all the things that have happened. And I hope they just don't gloss over that. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Matt Tween, I like that name. Matt Tween writes, do you think Thanos is beyond redemption, or will he just keep being the bad guy? You know, he's completely beyond redemption. He didn't just kill somebody. Thanos killed trillions of people. Not one person, not a school bus, not a building, not a town, not a country, not even a planet. Trillions he killed and murdered. Is he beyond redemption? Oh, God. Yes, if there has ever been a character beyond redemption, it's Thanos. He killed trillions with conviction. He did it. It wasn't an oops, I accidentally hit the button that killed trillions. It was he fought and killed to get the ability to kill trillions, you know? There's no redeeming Thanos. There's no redeeming Thanos. None at all. But whether or not he's the main bad guy in this, he may just be an afterthought again, not because he's not a bad guy anymore, but because his part in this story may be over. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Jonah Thawne writes, Avengers use Pym Tech to collect/rebuild hero dust. Probably not possible. Hero dust probably scattered to the wind. I don't think there's any, but it's an interesting theory. I just don't see how you possibly do that, especially since it's a year later when Scott comes back and shows him how to use Pym Tech. And I don't know, man. That seems like an unlikely one, Jonah. That seems like an unlikely one. San Salvatore writes, they killed Thanos, but they can't undo the snap. Possible. They might just leave Thanos alone. Or they may go and Thanos goes, do what you want, but we can't undo it. The gauntlet's damaged. And then Thor takes his revenge and kills Thanos and then leaves without the snap undone. That's totally possible. Absolutely that is. Javier Riaz 405 writes, how do you think Ant-Man escapes a quantum realm? That's come up a couple times today. I don't know. The one theory I've heard, I already said this at the beginning, but that sends shivers down my spine, but I've heard a number of people repeat it, is the ant that's playing the drums in the Ant-Man post-credit scene, that somehow, after a year in the quantum realm or more, Scott figures out a way to telepathically or use his tech to communicate with that ant to come back and turn and hit the button on the machine to let him out. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I'm going to roll my eyes hard if they do that. But other than that, the only thing I've got is that a year in there, maybe to him was like 40 years in there. Or maybe like 1,000 years in there. Who knows how time reacts in the quantum realm. But maybe he just figured it out and figured out to use what he had on him to get himself out. I'm not saying that's what happens, but that's the best theory I got right now. San Salvatore writes, they return to Earth and Scott comes out of the quantum realm and they use it to go back in time. I mean, that's the standard theory right now. That is the predominant big popular theory. That quantum realm equals time travel and they just go back in time and fix everything. Possibly. There's a definite strong argument to be made for that. There is. I'm not 100% sold on it, but as many other people have brought up, that does seem to be the dominant theory right now, San Salvatore. All right. Kendall Pugh writes, John, do you think the Dusted Heroes come back at the end to fight and we get a battle with all the heroes, or just come back at the end to show that they're back? I'll tell you what, Kendall, it's a coin toss. And I think what they should do, but who am I to say what they should do? I'm going to sneeze in a second too. I can feel it coming. I think what they should do is is have them all come back and participate in a grand epic final battle. This is the end of phase 3. I think that's what they should do, but I'm saying that having not watched the movie, right? So I don't know what the lead up. Maybe the best thing for the movie is just that they reappear and they're back. Maybe that's what's best for the movie. I haven't seen the rest of it, so I don't know what the setup is. But sitting from the bleachers, as a fan who has no knowledge of anything else that's going on in the movie, my starting guess would be, yeah, man, you've got to have them come back and battle. That's my guess. That's what I would do. But let's see what's best for the story once we actually get into it. But I think they should come back and fight. But who knows? We'll see. All right. Dalton Compton writes, if this time travel / exploration, what if the dusting is actually Strange and the Avengers removing the dusted from that particular moment in time? Getting a little bit into thick, deep nerd stuff, but possibly. Let me read that again, Dalton. If this is time travel / exploration, what if the dusting is actually Strange and the Avengers removing the dusted from that particular moment of time? So what you're saying is that when Thanos snaps his fingers, that everybody dusting wasn't actually those characters dying. What if that was Doctor Strange through time travel, actually using a different method to pull them out of the reality before that happens? That's an intriguing thought. Now, here's my problem with it, but it's a great thought. My problem with it is that they would need to do that for trillions of beings across the galaxy. Can they do that? Does even the Sorcerer Supreme have that kind of power? I don't know. So that becomes problematic. Because it's not just the Avengers, it's the billions of people on the planet. First of all, that's hard enough that they'd have to do that simultaneously with the billions of people who they know are going to get dusted. That's a big list. But then you got to do that for every planet in the galaxy. So I'm going to go ahead and say no, but that is one of the more intriguing theories, Dalton. That is one of the more intriguing ones. I like the way you're thinking there. AJ Lancaster writes, Tony had to survive Infinity War to bring Nebula to Earth. Well, at least one person had to survive, at any rate, right? I mean, it could have been Tony. It could have been, Star-Lord knows how to get to Earth, so it could have been him. Spider-Man, Star-Lord probably has it in his records on his ship to show where things, so it could have been any of them. Tony is not a space explorer, right? He's never traveled intergalactically before. So it's not like he's some guide through the cosmos. But since it is Star-Lord and the Guardian ship, I'm sure he's got it in there how to get to Earth. They know Earth. So I don't think it had to be Tony. It probably could have been somebody else. I think Tony's around for a lot of different other narrative reasons, but I don't think for that one purpose that it had to be Tony. It's just that at least one of them had to survive. African Prince writes, why is no one talking about Cap and Tony reunion? Dude, have you not? I talked at length about that. I think absolutely. That's the big thing we're all looking for. But then again, I have been doing the show for 2 hours and 45 minutes. So you're be forgiven if you weren't here when I talked about that one particular thing. But absolutely, man, that's the thing I'm looking forward to in this movie more than anything else. All right. Chris Warden writes, John, over under 40% Endgame will have a North American opening weekend of $300 million. The anticipation for this film is through the roof like we've never seen before, in my opinion. I'm going to take under 40%. Possible. But I'm not even 100% sure that this movie even makes the same amount opening weekend that Avengers Infinity War did. Is there 50 million people? Is there $50 million worth of people that weren't interested in Infinity War that are now interested in Endgame? I don't know. And I'll tell you what, these trailers right now, the trailers that they've done, and while I love this trailer was not designed to bring new people in. This new trailer was designed for all of us who are already in. And all of us who are already in, we all went to go see Infinity War opening weekend. So I don't know. I will say it's like a 50 or 60% chance that it ties or breaks the $254 million record that Infinity War set. But 300 million, I'll take the under 40% on that. I'll take under 40% on that. Not to say it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely. So I'll take under 40% on that. Suthius85 writes, that would be something if the opening is of the decimation from Carol's point of view. That's true. She's seeing Skrulls or whatever species she's helping start to dust. She then gets the page from Fury and hurries back. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that was a part of it too. I mean, there are several ways this movie could open. One, the way I think it'll open is with Hawkeye and his family dusting. Two, the movie could open with Scott in the quantum realm. Three, you could tell the story from Carol's perspective, from Captain Marvel's perspective, being out in the galaxy and seeing alien races dying, and then getting the page from Fury and coming back to knowing that the two can't be a coincidence, and she comes back. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the plausible openings of this film. I wouldn't be surprised. I still think it's going to be Hawkeye, but I'm not going to be surprised at all, Suthius, if your theory isn't 100% correct and it actually starts with Captain Marvel. I could see that. I could totally see that. Okay. AJ Lancaster writes, my big bet, sorry guys, the muscles in my back from sitting here like this for hours at a time are starting to knot up. Anyway, AJ Lancaster writes, my big bet is that they take from House of M Secret Wars 2015 and rewrite reality. Some people are sacrificed and almost no one remembers. That's totally possible. And that is one that a lot of people have kind of mentioned and drawn some attention to, that because AJ, a lot of people have pointed out that, hey, you know, in that Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, everybody seems kind of happy. But my counter argument to that is, well, wouldn't you be happy if you and your loved ones were all dusted and now you're all back? Wouldn't you be happy? Wouldn't the world be a very happy place at the moment? But, you know, there is an argument to be made that when you get into that Far From Home, that, well, wait, what if they just have no memory of the decimation? What if they have no memory of the snapping of the dusting and all that kind of stuff? Reality was rewritten. And that's definitely a popular theory out there, AJ. And that's definitely maybe it's not time travel, maybe it's reality, smashing. And they do something like that. And I think that's definitely high on the scoreboard. I think that's high on the scoreboard of possibilities. I really do. I think you're onto something there. All right. Steel City Fan 0806. Hey, John. Who do you think comes back to life first? Ooh. I think it's I think it's all simultaneous. Guys, I've been talking for too long. I think it all happens at the same time. I can't try to speak complicated words right now. My brain is fried. I think it all happens simultaneously. I just think they undust. Just like they all dusted, they all undust. So I don't know, maybe it's, Cap might see Bucky first, or I don't know. And remember, if this is an altering of reality thing, nobody comes back to life because none of them ever died in the first place. All depends on how they handle it. Godzilla fan 111 writes, Avengers try to kill Thanos in the first 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm buying into that more and more. That either they go to kill him or they go to find him to try to force him to undo the snap or whatever. And for whatever reason, whether it's because Thanos is already dead or they kill Thanos or because the gauntlet is too damaged and can't be used again on that level, they go there to do that and they fail because it just doesn't work. That's possible. But we'll have to see. But yeah, Godzilla, that's a fan. That's a theory I'm buying more into. Steel City Fan 806 writes, I predict Doctor Strange because he knows all. Big fan, by the way. Well, thank you so much. I don't think Doctor Strange knows all. I certainly don't think he knows all. And even if he did know all, how does that get him back to life first? Because him knowing all didn't stop him from dusting, right? It didn't stop him from dusting in the first place. So I don't know. But hey, Doctor Strange is as legit a prediction as anybody else. So yeah, why not? Maybe Doctor Strange. All right. Kyle Beckworth writes, Benedict Wong listed in credits on poster. That adds another layer of possibilities of where this movie could go. Trailer was great. Can't wait. I don't know. I mean, we all knew Benedict Wong was going to be in this. They announced ages ago he was in the movie. His character didn't dust that we knew of. So I don't know how many more layers or possibilities. I don't see Wong playing a major factor in the film, to be honest with you. I don't see Wong playing a major factor. I think he'll be there. I think he'll help with something. But honestly, I don't see him playing, again, being a major role in this. But who knows? I love Wong, man. I love that character. I hope he plays something more major. That would be cool to see. All right, AJ Lancaster writes, the conspiracy no one's cracked yet. Black, white, red color clips are actual footage from the movie. Endgame is a backdoor Sin City reboot. I like that. It's funny because just in the movie news feed today, AJ, we were talking, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For came up from a job that one of the producers did at any rate. But I like that. That's funny. All right. Ross Anderson writes, what about the final scene of the Infinity War trailer with Cap leading the Avengers into battle in the forest of Wakanda? Is that possibly from Endgame? Nah, that's not from Endgame. I know that was a popularized theory, but I believe even the Russo said at one point, no, that's not a scene from Endgame. And remember, in this new one, Cap has no beard. And in those scenes, he had the beard rushing the battle, and they did shoot. While they shot practically back to back, they did not shoot these movies simultaneously. There's that word again. That the Russos talked about that. They did not shoot these, while they did shoot the movies back to back, they did not shoot them at the same time. They didn't shoot, okay, today we're shooting these two scenes from Infinity War. Then tomorrow we're shooting this one scene from Endgame. And then the day after that, we're shooting another scene from Infinity War. And the day after that, we're going to shoot 3 scenes from Endgame. They didn't do that. They shot them concurrently. Not at the same time. So I don't think that's a possibility. Never say never, but I don't think that's a possibility. But you're not the only one who thought that, Ross. So there you go. Jordan Huxtable writes, Tony and Nebula used batteries Rocket stole in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to power ship to get back to Earth. Football field scene with ship in the first trailer is them returning. Was that their I have to go back and watch that. As far as the theory that they use the batteries, I don't think so. Because remember, when we see Tony in that first spot, they've exhausted every option. They've already been adrift in space for a long time. They've exhausted every option. They're out of options. So I think they would have found batteries that Rocket had at some point. Besides, it's not batteries they need. It's fuel. It's fuel they need. Anyway. But as far as maybe that being their ship landing, I'd have to go back. For some reason in my memory banks, I have it in my memory banks that was a Quinjet landing, but I might not be remembering that right. That's interesting, Jordan. I have to go back and see that now. All right, so you've given me food for thought. Thanks for that, man. Okay. Film Boss writes, if you were an MCU Avenger, who would you be? Oh, Captain America. No, let me rephrase. If I got to pick one to play, I'd pick my favorite MCU character. But who would I actually be? I'd be Yogo, the janitor. I mean, let's be honest. I'm no Captain Marvel material. I would be Yogo, the janitor, is who I would be, and probably not much more. Let me just check this here. Hold on a second. Okay. And that's who I would be. ZMG Ruler writes, John, you saved MCU if Dream Plan was the plan in Endgame. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. If that dream thing, just utter destruction. How to undo all the good stuff you've built over 10 years and 20 some odd movies in one swoop. It was all a dream. Destroys everything. Let's see. Miggy B writes, Cap can go back, present Cap can leave, and go live life without... Let me try that again. Cap can go back. Present Cap can leave and go live life out with Peggy, knowing he'll always help the Avengers. Of course, we don't know the rules of time travel. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a cop-out. He goes back in time, but it doesn't cause problems with the timeline. Yay, it's a win-win. It's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Look, again, what I will say about that is this. I do not buy into the theory that Cap goes back to live in history because it creates problems with the timeline. However, the one thing you can say for that theory is that they seem to be dropped a lot of hints over the years in MCU movies of Peggy. You know, whether it's the vision he had, granted it wasn't a real vision, but still the vision he had in Age of Ultron, whether it's the fact that they keep using her voice and things in a picture of her in one of the trailers. There's some stuff there that lends a little bit of credibility to that being a theory. Again, not enough for me to buy it, but who knows? Who knows what they say is going to happen to this wacky timeline or this new reality where Captain America never came to the What if in this new reality, Captain America didn't have to crash his plane and sink and freeze at the bottom of the ocean? And he never came to the present. They never needed him. Maybe that's something that they do. Eric Saul writes, do you think Gamora will play a key part into Endgame, possibly killing Thanos? P.S. Damn you, John, for teasing us with that new Joker trailer. I wasn't teasing anything. I was just telling you I was getting messages while we were doing this show. I wasn't teasing anything. Anyway, let me try this again. Do you think Gamora will play a key? No, I don't. I think by the time she comes back, if she comes back, I believe the majority of the action of this film has already been played out. So she may be back, but if you're asking, do I think Gamora will come back and play a key role? No, I don't. Come back, maybe, play a key role? No. Jeremy Ruh writes, Ty Simpkins will take over the armor. Not the craziest theory. I don't buy that, but not the craziest theory in the world, as a matter of fact. But why would he do that with a kid? If anything, he would give the armor overall, even though War Machine already has the War Machine armor. I would see him giving it to Rhodey, but who knows? Could be a possibility. King Latom writes, it seems like Cap is the main hero in the marketing so far. Do you think we will see Cap be the main hero in the movie like Thor was to Infinity War? I do. And I thought that the reason I think that is not just because of the trailers we've had, but is again going back to the director's commentary from Avengers Infinity War. It seemed to me that the Russos dropped several hints throughout that commentary that Endgame was really going to be a Cap-focused movie. A movie really focused. Not that Captain America would be the only hero, the only story, nothing like that. But what I got out of that Infinity War commentary was that Captain America was going to be a if not the central figure of the movie. How true that is, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, to me, the trailers are only kind of reinforced that. So let's find out. Okay. Anders F. writes, and by the way, Anders, thanks for sending in such a big super chat, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate that. Anders writes, Cap would never stay in the past with Peggy because of all the timeline changes. It would be a selfish act, completely out of character. I completely agree. Now, again, who knows? What if this is an issue of time travel, but an altered reality where he never fell into the ice in the first place, and it's just resets reality, and this is a different reality where Captain America never came up to the present. But you're right. If there are consequences to taking him out of the timeline and the consequences that would cause, he would never go back there. Not to mention, you're stealing away the life that Peggy had. She met somebody else and fell in love with somebody else and got married and had a life, and there was a family, with a niece and a great niece. And what happens to all that? You're right. I just don't see that being something Cap would do unless it wasn't about time travel, but rather altering reality. So if there's some way to make that happen without there being actual consequences, like timeline consequences, maybe you can do it. And again, it's difficult for us to say because we don't know what the rules of this movie are going to be. Once we see the movie and get a sense for what the rules are, maybe then we can get into that. And I just want to remind everybody in the chat, because I've seen a couple more going, please pay attention to the sign that says no more super chats, please. Please don't send any more super chats because I can't last much longer, and I do want to finish off the show here. Okay, Chris Parker writes, am I remembering this wrong, but don't we get a glimpse of another gauntlet in that factory where Stormbreaker was forged? Now, I might be remembering it wrong, Chris, but I believe that was the mold. I believe that was like a thing made to build the mold. It wasn't an actual another copy of the gauntlet. I think it was just the mold, and it got broken. It got broken, if I'm remembering it right. And I may not be remembering it right, but if I remember it right, that was just a mold, and it got smashed. So, yeah, not another gauntlet. But could they go back and make another gauntlet? I guess. Possibly. But then again, I really don't think the gauntlet or Thanos, and this is only my theory, I'm very wrong, but I'm starting to buy into this. I don't think the gauntlet or Thanos play a big major part in the movie. I think they think it'll play a big major part. Then they go there and they discover it's not working anymore and they give up. And then Scott shows up and the quantum realm becomes a possibility. So I don't know. Maybe there's more to it than that. I'm not sure. All right. Let's see here. Future Doc 84 writes, would love a scene either through time travel or the Soul Gem where Tony talks to, Jensen in the cave again and examine how Tony has changed. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? I mean, I don't see how you make time for that in the movie, but I got to say, Future Doc, that would be really... To go back to him and say, and have Jensen go, wait a minute, I just talked to you. Ignore that, Jensen. I just came back here from the future, from 10 years from now. I want to tell you what I did with my life after you got me out of this cave. What a beautiful idea. What a beautiful idea, Future Doc. I love that notion. I don't think it fits. I don't think you have time to fit that in the movie. But man, if they did it, I think that'd be a real sweet moment. I would like that a lot. All right. Jaden Perez writes, John, I'm not ready for Cap to die. Me neither, man. He's my favorite character in the MCU. But again, they've been predicting him dying. Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War. They've been predicting him dying forever, and he never has. Maybe he will this time. I still don't think so, but it is. We got to prepare ourselves, Jaden. We got to prepare ourselves. It is a possibility. All right. Weasel writes, over under 40% we see Valkyrie in this movie. I've gone on record already. I think we do. I'm not saying it's a sure thing, and there's lots of reasons why maybe she wouldn't, but I think we do, so I will take the over 40% on that. All right. Chris Parker writes, I think the great Thanos feels regret, not the great. I think the regret Thanos feels over Gamora will build and play a role somehow in what happens in Endgame. He's an emotional being and he can't just come back from what he did and retire in peace. I don't know, Chris. I mean, it's possible, but Thanos was of such great conviction over what needed to be done in his head, what he needed to do, of such great, all-consuming conviction for maybe centuries. He's felt this conviction. And yes, he felt the pain of it. And somebody's ringing my doorbell, guys. Give me 1 second, because it might be a delivery. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. It was one of those deliveries where you got to sign for it, and I knew it was coming because it's a big thing, so I had to sign for it. Sorry, I had to run down there and take care of that. Okay, where are we at there? Okay. Anyway, yes, getting back to the whole thing about Thanos and regret and all that kind of stuff. At the end of Infinity War 2, remember, he does have that conversation with like a vision of Gamora in the Soul Stone. And remember, the Russo brothers didn't call that Gamora. They said a vision of Gamora. But she asks, what did it cost? He says, everything. But it wasn't regret. There was a heaviness to it, but it wasn't regret. And then remember, at the end, after he escapes Earth through the portal, and now he's on his world, watching the sunset on a grateful universe. There was no regret on that face. There was no regret on that giant purple face. It was just contentment. He looked happy. He was content. So, does he feel the weight of the sacrifice he needed to make? Yeah, I think so. But does that weight translate to regret? Like, I wish I didn't do that. I don't think so. He was just far too convicted on what it is he felt he had to do. So I don't think that's the case. But, Chris, there are a lot of people out there who think Thanos gets redeemed in this movie, and Thanos will fight alongside of the Avengers to help undo what he had done. I don't see that happening. I'll be straight up with you. I don't see that happening. But it's always the things that surprise you that are the most fun to watch. So maybe this will be something that surprises us. Okay. Let's see. AJ Lancaster writes, they get another / build another Infinity Gauntlet theories are wrong via the comic. Stones gauntlets only work in their own universe. Yeah, but remember, AJ, these are not the comics. These are not the comics. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to these theories either, but the thing that doesn't necessarily disqualify them is the fact that in the comics, well, it doesn't really matter what's in the comics because these movies are not the comics. These movies are the movies that operate on their own set of rules and their own set of, their own set of realities, if you will. The movies are the movies, the comics are the comics. So while I agree that I don't buy into those theories personally, it ain't because in the comics it says this, because until they say that in the movies, it's a completely different thing. It doesn't matter what it says in the comics. It only matters what they do in the movies, because we've seen a million times that they do things totally differently in the movies than they do in the comics many, many times, right? So I don't think that necessarily disqualifies it, although I don't believe the theory myself. It's not because of that, though. All right. Godzilla fan 111 writes, what if Tony finds Quill's Zune and plays Iron Man as he's trying to get home? Travel time for the future of mankind would be a fitting lyric. It could be interesting if he goes at, maybe get the same music that he played in Iron Man 2 as he jumped out of the back of the plane. You complete me. Woo! They remember he's listening to some AC/DC on that. Maybe he plays that as well that he finds on the Zune. That's possible. African Prince writes, I mean, they are in the trailer together. Thanks for everything, John. Oh, sorry. What are we referring to, African Prince? Trying to see what maybe you were talking about. I don't see what it is. I don't see anything. Oh, man, I'm sorry, dude. You probably are referring to a previous comment you made, and I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. My apologies. But anyway, you mean they are in the trailer together. Thanks for listening. Well, thanks for writing that in. Again, I'm sorry I don't quite understand what it is we're referring to, but thank you for writing that nonetheless. All right. Whew. Here we are, guys. We made it. We made it. 3 hours and 10 minutes later, here we are. We've made it. The final question, the final theory of the day. Ja G writes, I remember another gauntlet in Infinity War where Eitri made Stormbreaker. Could they use it in Endgame? Again, I don't think, and now again, I have to go back and double check. I could be wrong about this. I don't think that was another gauntlet. I think it was a mold or a model of it. I don't think it was an actual gauntlet, because I think I remember it being knocked over and destroyed. So, but that doesn't mean they couldn't go back there and have another one made, maybe, unless he can't make any more. I mean, I don't know what the rules of that would be governing it. But then again, that assumes that even if they had the stones, that it could be undone. And I'm not sure that that's the case. But don't be shocked if they take another trip back there to that dying star or to the giant Peter Dinklage dwarf, and maybe they try to get something else made or another one made. It's possible. I don't think that's what they'll do. But again, it's another theory that carries with it some possibilities. All right, guys. 3 hours and 10 minutes later, and we have come to the end of this installment, this special Avengers Endgame theories based on the trailer that we just saw. Again, a lot of interesting stuff in this trailer that kind of confirmed some stuff that we were thinking or reinforced some theories we have. Some of our theories completely dusted. Some new theories have emerged. And you know what? If I'm right, and I may very well be wrong, but if I'm right and there is another trailer that comes, we'll have to do this all again, because we'll have to revisit again what does the new trailer do to all of our theories and all that kind of stuff. And we'll have to talk about that. Guys, thanks so much for giving me people to talk about all this stuff with. It's awesome when we can get together as film fans and talk about our theories, talk about this stuff. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for being here and participating, guys. A lot of theories. You know what? I bet a whole ton of these are probably going to turn out to be complete crap and not true. And a bunch of these that we thought were crazy might actually end up being true. That's the way of things. Let's see how it all turns out. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Don't forget, guys, we will be back again tomorrow with a new episode of the John Campea Show tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully my voice will be okay by then. Thanks for being here, everybody. My name's Don, and until next time, bye-bye.